world out there and ourselves well. If we don't treat ourselves well, we're probably not going to treat ourselves.
Exactly.
Dry some water. Guys, I'm really sorry about all the technicals. I'm filming away and I look at it after a while and think, oh, rotate that. Now I'm buried right in here.
Well done. Nice to meet you. Thank you. Take care.
How you doing, man?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, no, all good, man, all good. It's been a while, man. Yeah, you're a Christian, right?
I don't identify as Christian.
You don't identify as Christian, fair enough. So
I don't reject the teachers of teaching with me.
Of course. It's pretty hard too. I mean, love your neighbour as yourself, love the Lord your God. These are pretty hard things to like reject as a person. Because we can all agree that's the best example of humanity.
Yeah, that's a good basis for getting on with it.
Yeah. So I know a lot of Christians who actually believe in, flat earth sort of model. But I don't understand it just yet.
Okay, well, I had a lot of Bible study when I was a youngster. When I was 12 years old, I'm saying to, maybe a bit younger, I'm saying to my preachers, like, why is the Bible on flat earth? It contradicts what my science teacher is telling me. Is the Bible the Word of God and it could be so wrong? That was what I was saying as a youngster before my mind was too badly infected by the propaganda.
Yeah.
Evolution is also not in the Bible.
Of course, yeah.
God created us perfect in God's image. That's the Bible, right? So I was like, but again, they're telling us, I could never understand why the church was comfortable with the science teachers telling us, no, you come from apes. No, this earth was made over billions of years and God had nothing to do with it, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I know Christians will say, no, but God set the fireworks going, hoping that eventually,
I wouldn't say I don't believe in evolution. Darwinian evolution is racism. Right?
Yeah.
Literally, it comes from a racist ideology. So I wouldn't say.
Absolutely.
But it's just a flat earth. I don't really understand it. I know there are Christians that I know who do affirm it.
Yeah.
But I don't really quite get it.
Okay, what we've got to do before we try and identify how it might be, we've really got to get this idea of what it isn't out of our heads. While I've got you infected by an ideology, you're never really honestly going to consider any other perspective. You can take racism, you take to a white child or a child, those people are bad on the other side of the fence. And you say to them enough times, that's really going to be hard for them to kind of challenge that perspective later in life.
Yeah.
Well, that's the same as true with this idea that we live with the sun we're spinning around the sun and it's a big ball and you can't see that it's a ball except a ship going over the horizon and stuff like that. But it turns out, because 10 years ago, I came across this idea that the Earth is flat, which of course I was like, well, no, it's not really flat, no. But the first thing I came across was that the water is always measured level when it rests. That's why we say sea level. Your lake is level, pool is level, all of the bodies of water, even in your glass with a little bit of, surface tension on the rim, your glass is going to be a level body of water. That's why we build using water.
Yeah.
Water level, sea level. So if you're asked to test all things. So if I go out and test, can I measure curvature? Can I look at an object 20 miles away that should be hidden by hundreds of feet of curvature? If I can see that, then I've got to start asking questions about this idea that I'm living on a spinning ball.
Yeah.
Because it all bases on a theory, which is a theology of gravity. A stone getting heavy enough that eventually it starts forcing other stones and water into its side and underneath it and all of that sort of stuff. That's stuff that we can't see in reality.
Sorry for interrupting. So what do you think of the circular theory? So the idea is that when we look into things through a microscope, they seem to take on the shape of a circle each time, including cells, bacteria, even plant matter. Everything takes on that shape. And it seems to be the case, for example, like how bubbles are formed, right? They always seem to form that one circular shape, right? If it's the case that, they can do that, isn't it a natural progression that all life that was created, by the way, and didn't come from monkeys, has this pattern built within it that just is circular. You know.
Absolutely. So what nature shows us is apples and oranges at the scale that you and I can see. We see apples and oranges and mangoes and all of these sorts of things, right? And they're all spherical of a sort, right?
Even bacteria, right?
Yeah, even bacteria. But every one of these things, even the bacteria, has a skin.
Yeah.
Always has to be enclosed, entombed, or in a shell, you know, egg. All of these things, a bark of the tree, the skin of your body. Always God shows us that it encloses that. And what it does is that it buries right at its center the most important thing. Right? In the case of an orange or an apple, it's the seeds at the center that are carrying, or the reason for the apple.
Yeah.
The apple is there to carry the seed of the tree to the next generation, right?
Right.
So I say that we live inside of the apple rather than on the outside, because nothing can live on the outside of its skin. If you wring a tree, it'll die. If you peel an orange, it will dry. Always.
Yeah.
So what I say is, or what we say is that, like the Bible says, that God separated the waters from the waters, and he created like what they call a firmament, or rakia. And that rakia is like a roof, and that rakia gives us the second law of thermodynamics, being that if you want a pressure system, you must enclose it.
Yeah.
So you must, you know, when you take a breath in, so that the air doesn't come out, you must close your mouth and hold, you know, constrain it. Otherwise, it's going to push out.
So what do you believe is beyond that rakia, though? Because you mentioned the firmament of the earth. What do you think's beyond that, or what in terms of, like, you know, for example, planets and stars?
Well, I would say
where do you think these things are situated? Because it's evident they're situated distant from us. Because if the sun was really close, it would absolutely destroy this planet. So
that's on the basis what you're thinking is that the sun is a ball of helium and hydrogen burning. That we don't think that when we're in the flat Earth. You know, God created two lights, one for the day, one for the night. Yeah, and He saw that it was good. And those were two different lights, not one rock that was reflecting light from another one, or from a second source. So the sun and the moon are actually within the firmament. They are inside the system, as are the stars. And the stars are giving us signs and seasons. And we notice that for thousands of years, cultures, ancient cultures, before the modern mistakes that we, you know, use the stars in the same ways we can today to plot various things.
of course, yeah, astrology, yeah.
And these have been the same stars for thousands of years. Now, if we lived inside of a Big Bang that was spinning and vortexing, in our case, 4 different directions against everything else, moving at millions of miles an hour, all in different directions, we wouldn't have the same star patterns that we see, the astrology patterns that we see, the zodiacal patterns.
I've even seen Orion's belt consistently in the sky for
always at the same, and that's always been aligning itself with the Great Pyramids of Giza for thousands of years. And we have other things, Stonehenge and other stones that are like set thousands, hundreds of years ago, and they've aligned them to certain stars that are exactly the same place today.
Yeah.
That doesn't work. That works like if we were in a disco and the lights are going over our head, and it's always every 30 seconds, it's exactly the same thing. You go, okay, I can see the cycle here. I can see what's happening. But if I said, no, it's not you, it's the floor that's moving, and the lights are in the same place. You go, no, that's ridiculous.
Well, you said that the sun itself is not a giant gas giant, right?
Yes.
So your belief is, sorry my bro, but your belief is, right, that, you know, so the heat and the lights, what do you think that is?
Well, remember that we had the daylight before we had sun.
Yeah.
Day 3, I think, is that, you know, there was day. He made it day and night. And then he gave us the sun and the moon. So
I can't hear you, so we're being interrupted. Sorry, man, but we got...
So he gives us the sun and the moon as luminaries, and but not actually for the daylight. In fact, you know, they have in Scandinavia, places like that, they have 24-hour daylight, but not 24-hour sun. You know, we get daylight before the sun comes. You know, so what the daylight is and what the sun is perhaps 2 separate things. You've got daylight, and then you've got this hot light. And the hot light is hot. I mean, in mainstream science, they say it's 6,000 degrees centigrade on its surface. They'll tell you that behind the surface, it's millions of degrees. But actually on its surface, when they point a laser at it, they get 6,000 degrees. And when they point a laser at the moon, they get a cold light. In fact, you can take a laser thermometer around behind a tree or whatever into the shade of the moon, and you find it's warmer there than in the direct moonlight itself.
Yeah, because I mean, one thing I've heard when I went to one minute, bro. Right, you can have a conversation with Mark, just please. Okay. So one thing I've heard is that when it comes to the moon, right, it's due to light reflection that it has any light anyway, and that light is coming directly from the sun. What would you have to say against that? Because that seems to be the continuous model, especially when I was in school, right?
Yeah,
when I was younger, I heard that as well.
That's what we taught.
And that seems to be consistent with what we see, because...
What were you taught causes the shadow on the moon? Let's say it's a quarter moon. What causes the shadow on the moon?
Generally light reflection. It would just be like, different positions the moon is in, right, generally speaking.
Okay, so I was taught that it was the Earth that was casting a shadow over the moon, which is why you get the partial moon.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Because you see the moon and the sun in the sky at the same time.
Yeah.
But not only that, is if you experimentally take a light and shine it onto a golf ball or any kind of ball, what we find is we get a hot spot on the center, right at some midpoint on that ball, and then everything else after that will get less bright away from that hot spot. We don't see that with the full moon. We see a completely equal amount of light.
We do, that's the interesting thing. Where's that come from?
Yeah.
Because it's like, I thought of it as maybe a sponge that's like basically reflecting the light off it. But that doesn't make any sense either if it's just a giant asteroid thing. A giant rock's not going to make, and that's what scientists say. They say that this is a giant rock and that basically light bounces off it. But a giant rock cannot allow light to pass through it.
No, and it's also going to, well, it's meant to be bouncing off, but not only that, it's like, it's so white, the moonlight, right, that you can't get, it's so hard to get a yellow light to reflect off anything and give you a white light like the moon does.
Yeah.
So we can't see that in reality. Not only that, there's a thing called the inverse square law, which is mainstream science, and that is that as you halve the distance to an object, a light, it will double in luminosity. Yeah? So every time you get closer by half, it's getting brighter again and brighter again. And so by the time the guys landed there in 1968, it should have been so bright you could barely see anything, but it looks very dull and dark and stuff like that. Once you look into like the NASA stuff, it starts to fall apart. Like,
no, I don't trust that the NASA ever went to the moon. Because the problem with the moon landing is that Buzz Aldrin was a place where so for example, the flag that he puts in the ground, that was moving. Where was the wind?
Yeah.
This place is deoxygenated. Why was there wind there? I mean, there's a lot of problems with the moon landing.
Why have they never tested a spacesuit in a vacuum chamber? If you're really going into a vacuum, you would go, okay, let's put it through like quite a stress test. We need to at least get to the vacuum that you're going to experience when you go into the outer space. Well, what they tell us is the vacuum of the outer space. We cannot even create a vacuum chamber strong enough to withhold that. And one time they tried to test the suit in 1960 something. They tried to test the suit in a vacuum chamber. They got to partial vacuum and the man nearly died. He survived it because they cut the test. That's the only time they've ever put a spacesuit. And back in the day, if you look at the footage, they were like, you got zips on your trousers there. You got what looks like Wellington boots on there. There is no seal in that zip, and there's no seal between the boot and the trousers.
You go to the Science Museum, it looks really tacky. The equipment they've got, and you're thinking, how could they be in a place which is essentially vacuum and still survive in such a flimsy suit? It doesn't make any sense.
Now, as a young man of this generation who gets all the AI, all the CGI stuff, you go back and look at 1960s space-like walks, and the first man sort of on a space tether, you could see it's in the studio, man.
It is in the studio. I'm sorry, I can't believe that.
I saw one the other day, and it's like, wow, they've got like to make the Earth look like it's spinning. They've got like a turning disc beneath him, and it doesn't look anything like the ISS traveling over the way the Earth travels. They travel over the Earth now. It's all so fake.
And they live streamed it, which is weird for me, because how are they going to get telegraph equipment, all that stuff up there? How were they able to even do that in the 1960s? And we've only just, in recent memory, received Wi-Fi. And even the golden age of technology happened well after the 60s. How was that able to happen at that time?
And let's just say you and I, we were on a trip to the moon. This is mankind's first trip to the moon. One of the first things that we're going to do when we get out the spacecraft is look back at Earth. We're going to, wow, there she is, the blue planet, right, or whatever you want to call it. There she is. We'd look back at her, we'd admire her, we'd amaze at her turning through the space, once every 24 hours. We'd amaze at that, and we'd probably take a picture of it. Don't you think? They never bothered taking a picture of the Earth or a video until the very last mission, the 6th mission. They didn't take any photos. Why? Because that way they didn't have to kind of make sure that the next photo and the next photo was in the right sequence of this Earth spinning in space.
Yeah.
We've never seen it. And even the guys the guys who are CGI experts say we can see where this photo of the Earthrise, they call it Earthrise, with the moon in the front foreground and the Earth rising, they can see a black box being cut in where the Earth is sitting. It's like it's been created. There's a documentary called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. It shows NASA's own footage showing how Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong were faking being halfway between the Earth and the moon inside of this little cupola, inside of their little thing.
Yeah.
And when they leave the moon, right, they leave the moon surface, a cameraman, he's the only two men on the moon, the cameraman pans them going up. It looks like firecrackers going off underneath it and it's being pulled up by a cable. But a camera pans up and they somehow get that footage back from the moon.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Like, that's the one thing I've always been concerned about. I mean, look at the curvature of the Earth is something which has always been, a thing that I've been ingrained to believe. But I know a lot of Christians who do believe it, and I consider them brothers and sisters in Christ. I mean, I'm not fully knowledgeable about, the flat Earth. So, I mean, if you've got any more resources you want to let me know.
Okay, let me just quickly take you through my banners here. Look at, see this? If you ask for a cut through of England, but this is a cut through of America. This is the whole of North America here. Yeah. This is what you will get. And when you're in school, the teacher would have gone, right, this is England, this is the East Coast, this is the West Coast. Up we go, down we go. We go up as much as we go down because you've really only got one level from the East Coast to the West Coast. And everything else is simply like a frequency up and down the mountains. Then you get across the Atlantic Ocean, which is, they tell you, this is AI telling you, the abyssal plain is a vast, flat, underwater plain located in the deep ocean floor. Most of our ocean floors are flat. Yeah. They're called abyssal plains. Yes, we have some peaks and troughs, but mostly it's just flat. And then the water is flat from one side to the other, across the pond, as they say. Yeah. And then when we say, oh, the ship's going down or whatever, well, so is the sun, according to that, and so are the streetlights, according to that. But we know that's a flat road, bro.
I suppose you do then think that gravity within itself is a myth, right?
So over here, that's a great question. Gravity is merely displacement in a medium. So let's say you and I jumped in the pool, we're not going to feel so heavy anymore, right? Where like the water's up to your chest, you're like, damn, I'm light now, But I put you in this atmosphere, and you're like, okay, I weigh you again. I take you up to 5 kilometers high, and you go, damn, I feel even heavier up here. You know why? Because the air is thinner and thinner. The thinner you go, that's why we can't fly planes, commercial planes at 45 to 50,000 feet. The air is so thin, it can't hold the plane aloft. So you've got to come down. Concorde was different, and it was designed for higher flight, for sure. So is the spy planes and so on. But the commercial flights, they cannot, because the air is getting rarefied. It's getting thinner and thinner. Yeah. The same is true with, like, say, boating. You can't run a boat over air, but you can run it over water. Why? Because the water is more dense. We can take an iron anvil and float it on liquid, mercury. We can float that, and gravity's gone. Now, in this example here, we've got all sorts of liquids sitting on top of each other. Why? Because they're lighter and lighter fluids. And then we've got items that are either going to sink or float depending on their relative density within the medium. Yeah. So it's a combination of the density of the thing and the medium that it's in. A football will not go underwater. You've got to force it right down.
Yeah, you definitely have to.
There's no problem being in the air, but it won't go underwater. A helium balloon, boom, up it goes. An air bubble in water, up it goes. Why? Because it's lighter than the medium that it's in.
Yeah, that proves a lot that, there are different levels of gravity, I suppose.
And there's different levels of strata. If you go scuba diving, you'll find you've got 10 foot, 10 meters, 20 meters, and it's all strata across from one coast to another coast. It's all going to be a flat line, just like this. If I made this 1,000 miles across, would you expect it to start curved? No. It's going to stay completely level. Now, the gases in our atmosphere, they also, unless they've been disturbed by wind, they will also settle, like the steam in your shower. They will settle at their relative point of
And that's interesting, because if there were laws of gravity which made everything consistent, right, you would expect the whole world to have the same level of gravity, but it doesn't. It has different forms of gravity.
No,
right?
and not only
displaced
that,
gravity.
And not only that, if like the Einsteinian gravity replaced Newtonian gravity, right? It sort of superseded it, the bending of warping of time and space. Now, even in quantum physics, they say, no, that's not quite it, because everything at the electromagnetic, there's much more power bonding between electromagnetic elements of our world than this gravitational. They say that the gravitational effect is 0.0 1 to the power of 50 less than electromagnetism. Everything is electromagnetic in this world. It's all frequency, like Nikola Tesla said, all frequency and vibration. And so we live on a kind of vibrating plate inside of. We live inside of an enclosure. That was that guy that came to chat to us. He was a little bit steaming, right?
Let me give you.
You guys can have a because I've got to go, unfortunately. But I thank you so much for telling me this stuff.
Okay.
So I'm going to look up if you've got anything to give me.
Yeah, take that. I've got my information on there, and I've got also a friend of mine has an app. It costs you $3, but it's really worth it.
Yeah, I'll have a look. Cause I know a lot of people who believe in flat Earth.
This,
have a look at myself.
it's got the best, even biblical information on that.
Let me give you a little bit
All right,
of
thank
advice.
you,
Cheers, brother.
Let me give you advice.
Have a conversation. I've got
How you doing, my friend?
How are you doing?
I'm alive.
I like the water's level. Did you know that?
Thank you. Sorry?
Water is level.
Yeah.
Water when it rests is going to
No,
be level.
water isn't level.
It's not level?
No, it's not level.
What is it?
Well, why do you get a high tide in one place of the earth and a low in the other?
That's being disturbed. That's water that's being disturbed. I'm saying water when it rests. In a container, in a lake, in a pool, a
Well, it's
bath.
level compared to the centre of the earth.
No, it's
Yes,
level.
it is.
Yeah, I understand.
That's why
I
you have
understand what we're
That's why
taught.
you have oceans.
Well, the oceans are level. That's why we say sea level.
It's sea level at Newlyn in Cornwall.
Do you know what mean sea level is?
Yes, it's what the average sea level is.
The average sea level on Earth.
No, at Newlyn in Cornwall.
No,
No, it is.
So all
No, it
topography, all maps that show you how high you are above sea level.
Talking about nature.
Yeah.
Yes, all the maps
All
that
maps show you how high
I
you
like
are
to
above
talk
sea
about
level.
above sea level. It's measured from Newlyn in Cornwall.
So I like to talk about me and you, not nature. I love to enjoy the nature. I want to talk about me and you.
It's just water level.
That water when it rests, but he's moving his head, so therefore it won't come to level. It's being disturbed, which is what tidal movement is. But we know that when there's no tidal movement, that the water is level. The Suez Canal is 120 kilometers long, and it's level
Yeah,
from
but
end to
my
end.
question is simple. If it's not a globe, what it is? Earth.
What if we live inside a globe? That we live inside an electromagnetic torus. Just like an apple. Imagine an apple. We don't live on the skin on the outside. We live on where the seeds are in the center. This earth is at the center. There is a dome, or the top of the apple is above us, and the bottom of the apple is beneath our feet. We've never been more than 8 miles drilling into the earth, and we don't think we can get more than 100 miles into the sky. The plane itself might be much bigger.
You said only two directions. You said up and down.
That's right.
But if I go left and right, that means I should reach the end of it.
Yes, possibly. Yes, but you know.
Let me tell you it.
Listen. No, thank you.
So what we're saying,
I want
what
to
we're
hear
saying
this
is that So what we're saying is that the reason why after Admiral Byrd, the American who had 15 years in the Antarctic, exploring with a fleet of ships and planes, he came back and said, I found land bigger than America that no man has ever stood on. The next year, all the big countries of the world signed the Antarctic Treaty, which prohibits you and me from traveling without permission below the 60th south parallel, and nothing other than military can go beyond the 70th south parallel. So why would they lock that place out if there was nothing to hide?
I don't know.
Penguins. They tell you penguins. But actually, this world doesn't care about penguins. It doesn't care about people. It cares about profit and control. And now we can't go there. So we don't know. There are videos of people who got on their fishing boat and they've tried to get from Australia to beyond the 60th or 70th parallel. The military navy comes and turns them back. We will shoot you out of the water. Turn around. Planes have been turned around by military craft. Turn around. They prevent us from traveling as far south as we might like.
Listen, that doesn't mean the earth is flat. It means
No, it doesn't. No,
somebody doesn't let it go.
Well, no, but I'm saying that water is always going to seek rest and come at level.
Yeah.
So the Earth being a globe requires for there to be curvature. However, we have seen things hundreds of miles away that should be invisible if we live on a globe, because they should be around the curvature.
Have you heard of sporadic E?
We can
Have you
see
heard
up
of
to 1,000
sporadic E? Have you heard of sporadic E?
Right?
Have you heard of sporadic E?
No.
No, exactly.
Now, so
It
what
makes-
I'm saying
it
is,
makes
let me
it
finish.
makes things in the electromagnetic spectrum curve.
Well, I mean, we can't see around the corner. You know, I know about
we can see
superior
around the
mirages and things like
No,
that.
we
But if
can
I
see.
can go up to say 10,000 feet and I can see mountains 500 miles away, there's no curvature. Neil
Why
deGrasse Tyson. Well, because we would have to be over that distance
But
a
you're
certain
high.
amount of
No,
altitude.
listen, you're high. As higher as you go, the further you see.
True.
So that doesn't make any sense.
True, but
if you
not-
stand here and you can see 500 miles away, that's
If
flat.
the Earth's flat, you should be able to go up to 10,000 feet and see Australia.
No, that's too far away, and there's
Oh,
too much
it's-
atmosphere in the way. But what we
There's
have
too
got,
much
the world
planet
record
in the
photograph
way.
over water is Guinness World Record is 400 kilometers. A guy recently took a photograph of the Alps from Wales, and he can pinpoint 7 different peaks, and their distance is 700 kilometers, or 700 miles, or 700 kilometers, I think. So these things are impossible on the globe. Now, I don't know if you've heard of an astrophysicist called Neil deGrasse Tyson. Neil deGrasse Tyson says that when Felix Baumgartner did his Red Bull jump 10 years ago,
stratosphere, yeah.
he was not high enough to see the curvature.
Yeah,
He was not high enough to see
yeah,
the
because
curvature.
he was inside the stratosphere, that's why.
But people will tell you that their proof that we live on a globe is because they can stand on a beach and see a ship curving away from them at 3 or 4 miles.
No, listen.
It cannot be both.
I
It cannot be both.
I believe, but the thing is like this: everything that is created, basically, almost. When we're not talking about humans and mountains, everything is round.
Yeah,
Everything
round.
becomes round, like a ball.
Around.
Even that.
Yes.
Everything is.
I agree with that. But I don't agree that we're on the outside of the apple. I say we're on the inside of the apple. Yeah. So the apple is an electromagnetic apple, and we're on this disc in the center.
But
it's
it
not
makes
moving.
sense.
It's not moving.
Listen,
we were moving-
Earth is known to have magnetic field, right?
Yeah.
So technically you're right, but that doesn't mean we live inside of something.
Nothing in nature grows on the outside of its skin.
Yeah, but that doesn't.
Nothing.
Yeah, that
Nothing in
doesn't prove
nature.
anything.
You see, the Earth being a globe destroys or defeats the second law of thermodynamics that says if you want pressure, you must contain.
Yes.
Yes. So where's the container for the globe?
No.
It's the
This is where
gravity
you.
which holds it.
the
It's the
thing-
gravity which
Gravity's
holds
a
the
theory.
it
It's a
holds the
religion.
atmosphere
Like you
down.
said, if you want to contain, you need pressure, right?
No, you need a barrier, like an aeroplane or a car. These are closed barriers, sealed barriers. Yes.
Because it
Yeah,
keeps
but
the air in.
you're missing something here. If you go down enough,
Yeah.
you will feel that pressure.
Oh yeah, because yes, of course, things
you
get
go
thinner
down
and lighter.
far enough,
So
you'll
there
come
is,
out
colder
faster.
there is
and more
something that
pressure.
pulls that inside.
What?
And we know that it's the molten core
We
of
don't know
the.
that. You know how deep we've dug into the Earth?
I know it's
8 miles.
yeah
8
in
miles.
Russia.
Yeah.
So how far?
Kola deep.
Do you have to dig into the earth before you come out the other side?
Well, there is no other side. Only in your religion, in your belief system, there is another side. But for me, the Earth is a plane we cannot go down and we cannot leave it.
But then how can we explain that everything else in the universe is round?
I already explained to you that this is round, but you're not wanting to hear me. I'm saying that we live inside the round
No,
thing.
you don't want to hear me. You don't want to hear
no,
me,
no, I
half.
don't
Don't
really.
you?
Yeah,
don't.
but if
But
I
no,
need-
exactly, because I can explain to him how you're talking a load of nonsense. Let me tell you.
See
what-
this. See this.
I'm still
Still
waiting.
see this. See this. See this. This is what we see in reality. Is that if I did a science experiment, I would have to. This water would eventually, if I filled it up, would fall over the side. This water would not stay in the cup. We're told that because of an invisible force that we can't see, that's possible. But unfortunately, my friend, it's not.
The thing is, if you do an experiment on something, but if you put something that has a magnetic field attraction here,
Magnetic field.
no, an attraction here,
Yeah.
it will be
Can
all the
you
way
model
around.
that? Can you model that?
You
Can
can.
you demonstrate?
Let me tell you some model. I'm going to tell you a model, right? And it's not far.
Oh, that guy's annoying. I want to put some chalk down.
It's a pendulum.
How are you guys doing? How's my stream holding up? Give me a thumbs up.
It's there. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. What? For me? Oh,
So much.
okay, you're right.
Say for Jax. Nice to see you, bro. Squirrel. Green's beautiful soul. I'm not for baptism, bro.
Yes, sir.
I'm well, you?
Good, thank you.
Are you an Aussie?
South Africa.
South Africa,
Yeah.
wow. It's the Science Museum that moves.
Some idol characters here today. Back to the banner in a bit. I was thinking of replacing it.
And you women were right.
Well, you know, I'm normally here.
Stupid man.
There's a lot of nods around.
I see the reaction.
You don't get science with Quran. You want to know about science, just open the book of science, right? I'm a scientist. Why do I use science? I use science to make aircraft. I use science to design rockets. I use science to design satellites.
What did he put in?
Earth is flat. Earth is flat. It's biblical, man. I was just talking to a Muslim now who confirms to me that the Quran says the Earth is not moving. And
I'm going to be honest with you, I have no idea.
Yeah.
I'm not that knowledgeable on that subject, but I got a question for you. Why do you think the Earth is flat?
Because water is always level when it rests.
When it's sorry?
At rest.
At rest.
A swimming pool, a lake, if the wind's not blowing it, right?
How about
it's
the
level.
What about the sun?
Sun, like the Bible's Quran says, that the sun and the moon are small lights that travel overhead. And the Quran says, Shamsi told me that right here in Speaker's Corner. The Quran says the sun travels over us, we don't travel under it. And just like you don't believe in evolution,
Yeah.
why should you believe in this other story when your senses tell you, and Allah told you, that the lights are moving over you, not you moving under them? You see, the evolution, the Big Bang for the globe is part of evolution. Even if you don't believe in evolution and you believe in Big Bang, you are undermining, just in the same way people who believe evolution are undermining Allah's intention, which is to create you and to have you have a divine, beautiful experience. But if I've come and misled you, and you misled your teachers and your preachers and your parents, then are you not being held back by the lack of knowledge about who you are and what this place is? Because this place is our heaven, our place that was given to us by God for us, by Allah for us. Not for us to be slaves, but for us to be inheritors, co-inheritors of this place. But we've had that stolen from us, and the globe makes us believe that we are insignificant flying through space and that we needed water to come here. It wasn't God, it wasn't Allah, it wasn't an intention to say, I'm going to create an environment for my produce, what I create, to be safe and to be fed and to be watered.
He might have the answer for that. Whether the earth is flat, he's quite knowledgeable.
Yeah, but it's Quranic and biblical, by the way. I had a lot of Bible study as a youngster, and I used to say to my preachers, like I'm 12, 13, I said, well, why does the Bible talk about a flat earth set on pillars? Creation story says that the sun and moon come on day 4, whereas my science teacher tells me that the sun comes on day 1.
So, question, right? So, why do you think we're taught that the earth is round, sphere, or wherever, and that it's not flat?
What if I was to pose the same question to you? Why do you think they teach us we come from monkeys?
No, I agree with you. But for example, this is
the same reason.
This is technically a Christian country, right?
Okay.
If it follows the Bible and whatever, I'm not sure if I didn't know if the Bible said the earth is flat. But why is that not something that's sort of taught to us here?
Well, what if I was to tell you that I believe that the Vatican, who is sort of behind the Bible, are the same deceivers? You see, in your religion and in Christianity, they talk about Satan or the devil or whatever being like coming here and controlling. Well, in what role is Satan being so powerful here, controlling, if not by knowledge, if not by information? And so for me, the creation of this globe was all about curtailing, controlling and minimizing, reducing your potential to explore the world that you're in and increasing the likelihood we would turn on each other. In the way that we draw these borders and we call my country, this is my country, that's your country, and if you come to my country, I'm going to be angry with you, and blah, 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 and all of these things. This is about divide and conquer. It's all about that. By the way, for me, I was atheist after I had Christian, but I was atheist, And when I discovered that the earth may not be a globe like I was taught, the first thing I thought was, wow, there's some truth there about God creating this place. And for me, a flat earth is created, a globe earth is a Big Bang random happenstance. And by the way, Big Bang theory is given to us by a Catholic priest. A Catholic priest called George Lemaitre, a Jesuit. He gave us Big Bang theory. So when you follow Big Bang theory, like the globe and stuff, this is part of their Jesuitism. This is part of the trick. Wow. It is.
I would have thought it come from atheists.
Yeah, what?
The Big Bang theory, etc.
Yeah.
Scientific.
But how many Christians will tell you that Big Bang is true? Christians will, not so much the Muslims maybe, but the Christians will tell you that Big Bang is true and that we waited 14 billion years for Allah's plan to kind of, be carried out. No. Allah is so powerful that He decides today I'm going to create this. Today He creates this. Tomorrow I'll create that. Not I'm going to throw it in I'm going to throw like an explosive device into a scrapyard and hope a Ferrari drives out the other side. No. And you are far greater than a Ferrari in terms of your design.
Correct, yes.
So how can that come from an explosion, guys? Your eyes, your ears, the beautiful things that we see in the world that mimic that. The Fibonacci spiral, all these gold ratio and stuff. This is intentional design. Not like, I'm just going to throw some rocks together and hope they float around and that. And by the way, rocks don't float. The moon cannot be a rock. Rocks in our reality do not float. They will fall through the air and probably fall through the water as well. Everything, gravity is really just displacement. How heavy you are depends on the air you're standing in, or if now you're in the swimming pool, now I don't feel so heavy. Why? Because you're in a buoyant environment. You can take an anvil and drop it in mercury and it will float in mercury. Gravity is not pulling on it. It's just simply buoyant because it is less dense than the medium that it is. So this is why the lie. Here's my flyer on why the lie. That's the biggest question. People say, why would they lie? And I've tried to explain some of that there. Salam
I have all their books, right?
We're the place that kept us safe for generations, thanks to the laws of Pentecost, the laws of Mount Sinai. We are safe, British people. have to fear jihad. We don't have to fear enemies in
Why
Islam.
didn't water find
Because
its
we
way
have
out?
governments.
Because we're on a slope.
And wipe out the rest of the
Because it's on a slope, you need the basics. You need to go back to the basics, sir. Water will run downhill unless it's contained. And then when it overflows that container, it will continue running downhill to the next container. We call those lakes coming down mountains. And each of those lakes are parallel to the next lake down. And parallel to the next lake down until you get to something we call horizontal. Horizon and horizontal. All of these things are parallel and horizontal. That's why I can build a house on a mountainside, but I will use water to make sure that my foundation is perfectly level.
Can I ask
Level
you a
to everything.
question?
Yeah.
So how come we can see the curvature of the Earth?
We can't. Look in this photograph here. Tell me, we're at 30,000 feet. Where's the curvature?
You're higher, you can see the curvature of the Earth.
So here I'm at 120,000 feet, man. Where's the curvature?
Yeah, well, hold on.
Where's the curvature? Well, you know that the higher you go,
I'm asking you a question. What's the distance
From there to there, or from there to there.
I would say that that's a few hundred miles. That would be 60, maybe 100 miles, and this would probably be 20 miles.
So the Earth drops, the Earth curves apparently, 1 inch for every 7 point something miles.
Not true.
So apparently. Hear me out. So just hear me out for a second.
You're wrong there. So you were going to make a point based on something that's...
No, I'm not trying to make a point.
The mainstream number, this is what got me out of the globe, is 8 inches per mile squared. That's not my maths, that's the trigonometry that if you go into Google and say, how do you calculate the curvature from point A to point B, they would say 8 inches per mile square, which means over 10 miles, 800 inches. And over distances like this, many, many miles. Now we've got the world record photograph, which is 400 kilometers, Guinness Book of Records.
Yep.
We are able to see all of this Finisterre or this Pic Gaspard from 400 kilometers away, all of it. We can see the White Cliffs of Dover from France, all of it. This would be impossible on 8 inches per mile squared, according to their model.
So
you can see France.
So this, now I'm going to kill your point and say that now I've been waiting for this. Is that a guy called Neil deGrasse Tyson? You might have
yeah.
He's on record saying that when they did the Red Bull jump, Felix Baumgartner, you'll remember it, he was not high enough to see the curvature of the Earth, and he was at over 20 miles. But he was not high enough, man. But you think at 40,000 feet. Let me tell you, I used to believe that too. But now when you go and look at that and you hear pilots saying, well, all we do is we fly level. And if you go into a cockpit of a plane, as I did when I was a child, all you see for as far as you can, it's like a blanket as far as the eye can see. The plane's not dipping around it. It's going to fly for 5 minutes and then you'll reach what you could see. And then for another 5 minutes flying, you see more level. When you look out of a round plane window, which is 3 layers of perspex, you are maybe getting a little bit of a flexing. Not only that, your eyesight at such a height allows for you to see 100 miles in that direction, 100 miles, 100 miles, 100 miles. So what am I doing? I'm inscribing a circle. And that circle, we're told to believe, is the curvature. But we've got world record, we've got laser shots over 50 miles. We've got photographs of all of buildings at 50, 60, 70 miles where we're over water. Where we're like, there should be thousands of feet of curvature hiding all of those buildings, all of those things off in the distance.
So how do you get to Australia then?
Well,
if it's flat? Is it just...
Shouldn't you be able to see
I can smell the kind of ridicule in that question. And
No, that was a genuine question actually. I am female, I'm blonde. What can I say?
If I said to you that London was flat, but you can't travel from the east side of London to the west side of London because it's flat, you would think I was stupid. Right? So if the earth is flat, like just imagine mini town. Yeah, I've built you a mini town that is all of the earth, but just on one football pitch. I've filled the football pitch with some water, and I've thrown some rocks in on that. Now I could take a boat from one place to another. The people who sailed to Australia in the 1600s believed they were sailing on a flat earth.
Yeah, they did.
We were never sailing around the globe. Even the story of Columbus thinking that he would hit India, but he hit North America. That's bullshit. We know that we were in North America long before Columbus went there. So the idea that you can't sail over a flat earth. If I said to your children, or you said to your children, listen, we've got this, we've been given this Olympic-sized swimming pool. We're going to drop 5 big boulders in it, and we're going to give you little rowboats, and you're going to go around these 5 boulders like it's the earth, like it's the continents, right? And they would say, no, we can't do that because it's not a ball. You say, no, it's the only way it would work. It's that if it was flat.
Then how do you explain the other planets?
Okay, so let me just, I'll answer that question. Let me just say that when we look at flight routes from England to Australia, it doesn't make a lot of sense why we stop in Dubai or Tokyo or whatever. But when you see the projection of the Earth like the United Nations logo, which is considered to be a flat Earth projection, if you see that, it's like a straight line. Same as flights from Argentina to Australia. It's like, it makes absolutely no sense for you to fly from Argentina up into the northern hemisphere and then back down again in this way and take 2 days to do that, when on a globe you could just fly underneath the bottom and come out from, say, South America out to Australia. No flight has ever been recorded going in one side of Antarctica and coming out the other side, ever. So all of our flight routes, when we plot them on a flat Earth projection, make a lot of sense. Even emergency landings, a guy wrote a book on 16 emergency landings, that when they touched the plane down because someone had given birth or died on the plane, they touched down in a place that made no sense based on the globe model. But when you plot that route from Hawaii to California and it stays stop in Alaska, you know, on a flat Earth, that's a straight line. There's no reason why a flight from Hawaii to California should be landing in an emergency up in Alaska. Should make no sense. Now you asked me a question about the other planets. The other planets are luminaries. They were always known as luminaries. They are lights in the sky. They are not rocks. In our reality, things that are heavier than air will fall. So rocks cannot stay because of the bending and warping of time and space. These are theoretical concepts given to you when you're very young, too young to really challenge what the teacher is telling you about these things.
Why did you challenge it? Why did you challenge it?
Why would those planets be different to this planet?
Well, no. Okay, so think about an electromagnetic plate, and inside of that electromagnetic plate, you have these arcing things that are moving overhead you in the sky. So it's like me taking you to a disco and you insisting that the floor has to be moving and not the lights to turn up in the sky. And I'm saying, what we're saying, and the ancients said, that these are simply wandering stars. Now, the zodiacal positions, Cancer and Capricorn and all of these things, Aquarius, these things have been recorded by ancient cultures as far back as we can see. Yes, the astrolabe, which was based on a disk-based system, is known as the world's oldest computer, and they used to calculate the movements of the luminaries. Now we have the zodiacal signs that are moving on their own, if you like, within this firmament that we think exists, and they're turning once a day, but not quite as fast as the sun. Then we have the wandering stars, Mars, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, Pluto, etc. These are wandering stars that are on their own track. And when you track their movements on a flat Earth model, they make these flower of lights as they regress or retrograde and come back forward and so on. They're making these patterns, flower of life patterns as they move. Now, when I've looked at the stars that we call planets, like Capella or Venus or whatever, if I look at them under a very powerful camera, I see them doing like this flickering light show. And the light show is dependent on the star I'm looking at. They're not all just flickering white or whatever. Some are red, some are going through color, some are just white. But they're all doing it on their own frequency or their own speed. Mars tends to be a red light, and it's just doing this. Doing this the whole time. Now, when we study what we can study on Earth with something called where we take a vibrating plate and we put a sound through it, it's called cymatics.
It creates patterns, doesn't it? On the frequency of the sound.
Yeah. Now, when we look at those patterns, we can see some of those patterns being mimicked in the stars that we're looking at. So, in my estimation, that these are energy centers that are vibrating. These are points of energy in the system. In the same way as you have energy centers in your body known as chakras. Yep. And there's 7 of them. Well, there's 7 main chakra systems in the sun, the moon, and 5 of the 5 major luminaries or planets, as you would call it. And these are in a particular position at your time of your birth, and they give you a stamp and imprint. And then as they come into those positions and alignments with you, the lights in the sky, then so they are more or less of value, or they have more or less import in your day-to-day life. So I believe that we're inside a living system that's not necessarily material in the way that we're taught to believe, that it's all electromagnetic. and that when we leave this game, we go back to our higher thing, the higher self, the sort of essence that we come from, which is, by the way, a loving essence. Now, I think that we've been thrown into this den of vipers as a challenge or a test, a soul test. You're going to come into this world, it's a world of division, hate, separation. Now, are you going to be able to find your way through that, or are you going to end up broken and batting for the master, which is what some people tend to prefer to do. So I don't have a religion. I think we are all equal under the Creator, whatever the name you want to give that Creator. I don't want to promote any kind of deity. It could be Mother Earth, but it's a living thing. The tides are breathing, the system is breathing when we get these 2 tides a day. There are areas, nodes on the Earth that have very high tides, and some areas that have very little tides. So I think that there are pumping systems within just in the same way as your body is naturally breathing and doing all of these sorts of natural things without you thinking about it, the Earth is doing that too. So it's the habitat created by perhaps ourselves, for ourselves to experience ourselves.
So just moving away from the flat Earth model, you talked then about how we're here for a purpose.
Yeah.
Do you think that only applies to just humans? Or does it apply to everything that we're surrounded with, including all of the animals on the Earth?
Well, I like to think of it like this, that it's a little bit like we curated a Disneyland. So all of the rides, all of the little Mickey Mouses and so on, they're there for you. They're there for your entertainment. In the case of the Earth, your nourishment. The trees will give you shelter. You build houses with them. And
animals will give you food.
That's correct. So some cultures will say, some religions will say that animals have consciousness and so on, and the trees have consciousness. I don't argue against that. I think everything is connected to whatever God is. So the tree cannot be disconnected from it. However, like the Disneyland analogy, you are the main attraction. You are the reason it exists. You are the reason it exists. You are meant to be the husband or the wife or the nurturer of this place. We are given that responsibility. We've ceded that responsibility to religion and to government and to science. And now we believe that science is going to. We need science to save us, just like we saw with the COVID. We needed science to save us rather than trusting our own God-given immunity to keep you well. Eat well, rest well, you'll be fine. And if you're at the end of your life, then let go. But you don't need man to do the climate change. We're going to spray the skies, we're going to do all sorts of things. I'm worried about, with the child, I've seen we've had children, they say, well, 1 in 10,000 children have this problem. So we give everybody a vitamin K right at the first moment of their life. We stick them in the heel when they need it right at the first moment of their life. We start injuring them right from the very beginning of their story. And I think this is all designed because we've given away our authority. A mother, an elephant mother, will never go to a hospital. She'll go, I'm having a child. And I'm going to do that with my auntie and my mother, and we're going to 3 of us are going to
get an elephant in an ambulance, can you?
So, that's a good one. There's a good one. You can't get an elephant in an ambulance. Yeah, nor would it want to if you don't know. No, screw you. I'm going to go and get some plants that are going to make my stomach feel better, or ease this pregnancy, or whatever. And if the baby is healthy, then it's healthy. If it's not, I don't need your intervention. Nature will take care of that too. But if I drink your poisoned water and I eat your poisoned fast food, then yes, more likely my baby will need some intervention because I've already damaged it in utero. So no, we're meant to be the master here. We're meant to be the captain of the ship. But we saw in 2020 the majority have given that away.
So then why are we the only ones in the universe?
Well, I mean...
Well, as far as we know.
So I used to be a total... I'll tell you this story. I used to be a total atheist, like big time. And I was looking for life on Mars, looking for life on the moon. I wanted all of that to be real. And then in 2015, I took ayahuasca. Have you heard of ayahuasca?
Is that the
Peruvian plant?
Yeah, which they...
The first thing I said when I came back, as I came out of it and I was able to speak, is it's true, there is a God. And I was 47, my dying mother 4 years ago couldn't get me to accept that. I had this experience of seeing everything beyond the veil. Like this fake reality that we've got in front of us, the skin that you see, it's all like a layer that's been put on us so we cannot see what's really going on and who we really are. So I found God. I found that I am an eternal being. I wasn't saying that I saw God. I was seeing my higher self. That I was like, this being cannot be touched by atom bombs. Nothing here on earth can harm that being, and that being never dies. Now, when I finish this life, I go back to that being. I return to that, which may be below God, but something at that towards that level. And I was immersed in so much love. It was beyond anything I'd ever felt from my mother or anything that I'd experienced in this world. So for me, I know that we are something much higher than my science, which I loved, taught me to believe. And we are the reason for this. And why is it not? I mean, as far as I know, our universe is one capsule, one apple, a big apple. We're right in the center of it, each of us are right in the center of it. Outside of the apple, no idea what's out there. Are there other universes? Are there other things? Possibly. But I can't make claims about something that I cannot test. Mankind cannot get outside of this place. We're in a terrarium that was designed for us. It may be the only one. There are some evidences that there are beings existing at other frequencies. There could be a highway going through here at a different frequency. None of us can feel it, see it, touch it. It won't hurt us, and we won't hurt it. It could be that. I keep an open mind about the possibility of extraterra, meaning extra land on a flat Earth, where extraterrestrials might come from with higher technology. There are some hints and clues about stuff like that. They've locked down the Antarctic region, anywhere south of 60th South Parallel. We're not allowed to go there. Since 1958. Why? All Russia, America, China, they never break this treaty. They always chase anyone who tries with a bit of money who can afford to fly up there, they try and get them away.
I'm going to Google that.
Yeah,
there is an Antarctic treaty. There is an Antarctic treaty.
Yeah. And those that do get to go to Antarctica...
So I wasn't mocking you, I was genuinely interested in your view.
But it's like, think about it. If I said I'm going to fly to Scotland, you wouldn't, and it's all flat from here to there, you wouldn't question that. So on a flat Earth, flying to America is across the pond. The plane doesn't have to dip. It doesn't have to make any allowance for curvature. It just flies flat and level for 6, 7, 8 hours. And then it'll settle back to the same level. That's what a plane does. And there's many pilots now on videos on YouTube saying, no, it's flat, we don't make any allowance for curvature. And there's military pilot, I heard one talking the other day, he said, I was 300 kilometers. 300 kilometers from K2 at 28,000 feet, and K2 is 28,000 feet, and my computer system was picking it up as exactly flat from my position at 28 and 300 miles, which should have many miles of curvature. 8 inches per mile squared is the number, and I don't even believe that would be right. That's the number that we were all taught when we were like, oh. So what does it? They never taught you this at school. What does Pythagoras say that a ball should curve? This is Pythagoras. 8 inches per mile squared. I don't think that that's necessarily right. I think that if it's an almost perfect sphere, it should be bending the same amount all the time. Except for obviously some land is flat.
Thank you very much.
This is why they lie.
It's been lovely to talk to you. That's been lovely to talk to you. It's always going to get a different opinion.
Thank you.
Whether you accept the opinion is different, but it's always nice to get a different opinion.
But he won't answer my question on Foucault's pendulum, this shuts me up.
Okay, convincing. Oh man.
Do you know that the globe has been circumnavigated?
Yes. Do you know that London has been circumnavigated? If I travelled around the M25 now, I would be circumnavigating London, yes?
No.
Yes.
There's a bit of Enfield which is inside the M25.
You're being pedantic. The point is that I can circumnavigate England on a boat or London on the highway. It doesn't make it a ball. So we can circumnavigate. And by the way, before the ball was invented 400 or 500 years ago, sailors were sailing all across the earth knowing that it was flat and that the seas were level now. We don't need for it to be a globe. All sailing can happen absolutely, and flying can happen on a flat earth.
I have sailed in one direction and come right back the other way.
I wouldn't argue with that. I've travelled all the way around M25, both east and west directions. Still doesn't make it a sphere. If you look at the United Nations logo, man, you'll find that that logo, if you plot the shipping routes that you've taken on the United Nations logo, you'll find that you can do all of those. And that's a flat Earth projection.
You can't print a globe, that's why. That's why the United Nations logo stand. I mean, if you were to fly from Sydney, to Buenos Aires, according to your map, you come over London.
No, we actually do. You know, when we fly from Australia to South America, the routes that we take do not make sense. If there was a globe, we would simply fly underneath the globe. But we've never flown under the globe. We've never taken a plane one side in and out the other side on Antarctica.
If I ring up my relatives,
One moment, please.
if I ring up my relatives in Australia,
Yes.
it's daytime here and nighttime there.
Yes. All of that stuff works on the flat Earth. Now imagine we were at Wembley Stadium.
Sorry?
Imagine we were at Wembley Stadium.
Yeah.
Yes, and I had a stadium light, just one. And I took that stadium light around the stands once a day. Some of the stands would be night, and some of the stands would be day. Remember, like the Bible says, that the sun and moon are small lights in the sky, and so they're not very big, and they're not very far away. They're very small, and they're very local. And so we can have day and night and seasons on a flat Earth. It's all, we've looked at all the possibilities of that.
But you can't
all
have
of
a
those
lunar eclipse on the
What
flat Earth.
about the astronauts?
You can't
when
have a
they-
lunar eclipse on the flat Earth, can you?
What about the astronauts when they get up there and they look back?
You know, when the astronauts went to the moon, ma'am, you were probably a young lady in 1968, 69, 71, when they went to the moon.
Yeah.
Those astronauts on the first 5 missions didn't take a photograph of the Earth. Don't you think that would have been one of the first things you would
Yes,
do
they
if you
did.
got to go up there?
They did it from Apollo
1972.
8. Apollo 8, which was before then, they took photographs of the Earth. I remember them because I was a young man then. And I remember seeing the photographs.
I think as Obama said a few years ago, can you believe it? The last time we took a photo of the Earth was 1972. And since then, they've done one more, which is called the Blue Marble. And the guy who did the Blue Marble admitted that it was a painting that he'd done. You can find the evidence of this. Now, if we were going to the moon, if we were in the 1960s, with the technology they had then, we should be doing it for a weekend trip to the moon by now. But NASA admit that they've lost the technology.
It's expensive. They've lost the money to do it.
And NASA gets $70 million a day.
It's
They're not
still
sure
a lot of money.
So, Matt, guys, you got a question?
No, I just want to listen in.
Okay.
I follow your channel.
You do?
Trinity Film.
Yeah.
Explain Foucault's pendulum.
Foucault's pendulum.
Yes,
Well,
it's
I'd
at
like
the
to say
Science
there's
Museum.
nothing- Yeah, but they have to set them in motion, don't they? And so, if it were true that the Earth was spinning and creating the pendulum effect, then that spin should occur when a crane operator leaves his crane stopped for the weekend.
No, because he puts a
goes
brake
away.
on. Because he puts the brake on. That's why.
No, we're
It's
talking
like why
about
the pendulum
we're
in
talking
the
about
grandfather
no,
clock
we're talking about
always swings in the same direction.
We're talking
If you
about.
put it up on
Let
the
me
roof,
talk.
and then, no, you've been talking all
Okay,
the
okay,
time.
bye-bye.
Yes, you
Bye-bye.
go away.
Bye-bye. I can't listen to that, man. How are you guys doing?
Just don't run away, just don't run my question.
You know anybody in New Zealand that you trust?
Yeah.
Why don't you phone them up and ask them what time it is in New Zealand and compare it with what time it is now?
Can you show me water curving over the surface?
No, but
can you show me water curving?
why don't
over-
you ring
No, that's a
them?
ridiculous question. No, can you show me water curving over?
Ring them up in New Zealand at 2 o'clock in the morning and ask if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon there.
Have you researched any of flat Earth, or you're just
Well,
receiving about
that's a simple way of proof.
You're still going to run away from me.
Because you don't have a decent
No, I
question.
do have a decent question. You don't have a decent
Foucault's
answer.
pendulum is not a proof of the Earth. What I'm saying
Yes,
here
it
is
does.
that water.
It is proof.
Water
It's
is
proof of
always
our
going-
latitude.
No,
It's
there's-
proof of our latitude. and the fact the Earth spins.
No, I think that if the Earth was spinning, like I said, that you said, oh, the crane has a brake.
Yes,
what I'm
it's a
talking
brake
about is
on
a
it.
30-meter cable
Yeah.
holding a ball.
Yes.
There's no brake on that.
Yes, exactly. That's why it moves round. That's why it appears to
That's
me.
why it doesn't.
It
That's why
does.
it kills your
Go to the
total-
Science Museum and see it for yourself.
And where does
See if-
water curve? I'm asking this man the same question. Where does water curve over its surface?
It curves as the globe curves.
Can you show me?
Pardon?
Can you show me?
Well, I haven't got an ocean near here to show
Science-
you, have I?
Science is a systematic study of structure and behavior.
Well, I'm going to
of
tell
physical
you.
and natural
I'm
world.
going to tell you that Foucault's pendulum is both
doesn't
observable,
bend
it's repeatable.
So is that. Water is always going to find level, no matter the scale.
No.
Water always finds level.
Midday in New
Water
Zealand.
always finds level.
Why is it midday in New Zealand when it's midnight here?
Well, because the light source is very small, so it can't cover the entire plate of the Earth.
Well, if it's a flat Earth, the sun will be visible all over the Earth at the same time.
You're assuming that the sun is millions of miles away. That all has to get washed
No,
away.
it doesn't matter how far away
why'd
it
you
is.
get a lunar
If it's
eclipse?
above the
How
horizon,
can
it
you
will
get
be
a lunar
illuminating
eclipse
the
on a
whole
flat
globe.
Earth?
Well, there's an interesting one, the lunar eclipse, because when we have a lunar eclipse, we can't see the silhouette of the moon approaching the sun.
We can't see the silhouette.
Yeah. Well, for
No.
a solar eclipse, sorry, we can't
No,
see
I'm talking
the...
about a lunar
Well-
eclipse. I'm not talking about a solar eclipse.
Ancient cultures used to talk about two dark
talking about-
bodies in the sky covering the moon and the sun.
I'm
That's
talking
what we've
about
been
lunar
talking about.
eclipse.
Sorry to interject.
It doesn't answer my question. Runs away. And that to me,
Yeah, well,
because she
it might
runs
happen.
away, that
But
to
what
me
we don't
is
see,
a man who's
what we don't see
telling lies.
is like a
The
silhouette.
Earth is flat, then
You see, if you take a football in front of the light, you will see, even though you can't see any light reflecting off the football, you will see a silhouette in front of it, because that's what they say, the moon is in front of the sun. So why do we not see a silhouette? See, when we're watching the last lunar eclipse in America, solar eclipse in America, what we found was that the shadow wasn't coming onto the sun in the way it should be according to the model. It was inverted, it's coming the wrong way. And then, of course, when we look at a solar eclipse, we find that the umbra, the very dark area, is only about 70 miles wide. When you throw a shadow of something, the shadow is always going to be bigger than the thing that it started with. Yeah? You put the football in front of the light, the shadow is going to be much bigger. And the umbra, the dark part, should be at least the size of the ball
It's the Earth
itself.
moving between the sun and the moon.
So there you go.
So you can never get a lunar
You like my new banner?
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
First time out today.
Right, yeah. I think you've been here before, like,
Anytime.
because I met you before.
Anytime. Good day. How you doing?
Why do you believe the Earth is flat?
Because water always seeks and finds level. When water,
Yeah.
the physics of water, the natural physics of water.
Not really, like
Show me curve over water.
curve.
Yeah, like it's going to, like
It's not
water.
because there's like gravity. So imagine you imagine
No, you can't say. Remember, gravity is the theory that if I drop this, it's going to fall on the floor. Now you're invoking that same gravity to say it's just going to bend in the distance. You can't show me.
Yeah, but like if I
Let me.
the
You
reason-
seem like a scientific.
The reason why people saying like that is because if I manage to think all the way down through the floor of the Earth and all the way to the other side, which is Antarctic, right? Imagine I did that, and I decided to jump in. Imagine I have full power, I can go through and then right without burning and stuff. Most of it, it's impossible to do that. But let's just say I can, right? What would happen as soon as I get to the other end? I will, because of gravity, I'll be pushed back up, and I'll be pushed back down as soon as I get to the very top. And it will keep on going like that and like that until I end up in the middle of the pool. So the problem is even at the lowest of, like, at the bottom of the Earth, right? The reason why the water is like staying up, like staying straight, is because of gravity. Gravity is pulling it like down, like
Okay, so I mean that's all imagination stuff. What you just gave me now. Let me. Well, you said if I can imagine going through the Earth. Do you know how far we drilled into the Earth?
I know, but just imagine like there's massive.
Answer my question. Do you know how far we drilled into the Earth?
Quite far.
How far?
I don't know exactly.
Yes. Yes.
8,000 or something?
8 miles.
8 miles.
8 miles. Now you're telling me I need to go 8,000 miles beneath my feet when we can't even go 8 miles, right? It's called the Kola Super Deep.
Come to the Earth is
We'll get back to it. So,
the Earth is flat. Right. So basically, but if you go into search up the Earth, you'll see its globe.
no. So all those pictures that you see, so all those pictures you see. No, well, okay.
Science
So,
online. There's proof.
do you have a religion?
No.
Okay, so do you think the preachers are lying?
Huh?
Do you think the preachers of religion are lying?
Not. I wouldn't say anyone's lying.
So the scientists are preachers of a religion, and they're not lying. They truly believe, like you described.
It's flat. What are you talking about? Anyway, nice talking to you.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye bye.
I was getting somewhere. Yeah. I never got.
Islam, you do not fit within the laws of Moses.
She said that Google showed that it's a circle, so it's a circle. That's so silly. That's so silly.
I'm like, but water.
You're a baby, they show you all Earth.
But the water says, we need to be experimenting. We see something, we test it. You can't just say, oh, well, that's it. That's
science.
Yeah. We call it scientism.
Exactly.
That's a religion of science. Because people lost faith with other religions, so they gave them science. Yeah, you are. Come from a monkey, came from a big bang. There's no God. Well, this is because we've been traumatized. What they do is they traumatize us.
Programming, conditioning, they're just insane. They're just lonely and stuff, so they're trying to release
I mean, I could reorganize myself.
Black people, because you're not jealous of their freedom, of their prosperity, of their glorious history. You will not enslave them again, because you are jealous and want to make profit by enslaving them to bullshit African crap. Africa, you know.
Can I give you a flyer?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Have you ever seen water curve over its surface?
Yes.
No?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Oh, can you show me that?
Sure. You can get an airplane and watch the curvature of the Earth. You can get up on a building. You can get up in the Tower of London, up in the London, and look down and see.
There's a guy called Neil deGrasse Tyson. Have you heard that name before?
You can also fly in a spacecraft and look down.
You have done that?
I haven't.
I've done it in planes. I've done it in a boat. You go up to any tower. Anybody can build something and see it.
There's lots of airline pilots who say we make no allowance for curvature and we don't see any curvature.
I'm sorry. You're wasting your time on me.
What passengers say,
you're wasting your time on
and
me.
what Neil deGrasse Tyson says is that you're in a religion. Yeah. Well, that's one of the joys of this role, is that I get to engage with some of the most deeply indoctrinated minds. But
You should go do this. They're trying to fight $1 trillion worth of indoctrination.
And generations of...
I don't know how you're going to work.
Well, I mean, I've been doing this for Coming to Speak at Corner since 2018. And so, well, yes and no.
Is it actually your time?
Well, I don't know. I like to think so. I mean, I go to other towns as well and hit towns, all over the country and whatnot. And just go over to Saturday, like, wake-up call for a few people. And you know what? I had people walk up to me and go, and one of my favorite moments actually was in Trafalgar Square, and this young girl came to me and she said, I thought it was, she was like 12 years old in school or whatever. She's like, I thought it was flat, I'm been thinking it's flat. I'm like, you're absolutely right, stick with that, don't let them mess with your head. Another guy, just as I was approaching here some years ago, I was trucking on the sidewalk as I was approaching this. I was trucking on the sidewalk, and he said, is it true? He said, yeah. I said, yeah, it's true. He said, I always thought that, man. He had a cup of coffee in his hand, he threw the cup of coffee and ran off in the street going, yes, I know now, that I've been freed from this mind control. So, yeah, I think that there is value there is some value in it, but obviously here, you know, most people are trapped in a particular ideology, and that's okay. I'm not
traumatized, like you said, traumatized.
Traumatized. And you know, like in Christianity, they tell you that if you are not good, God is going to like mess you up.
Yeah.
You know, that frightens the hell out of you. So that's trouble in your children. If I say to my child, if I put fear in him every day, then he's going to grow up fearful.
See, that's what the Muslims do as well. They try to make God a tyrant, but he's not a tyrant. He's not a tyrant. He can, you know, be wrathful when he needs to be wrathful, but he is not. He's not. That's not his default state. He doesn't need to be like that.
Let me give you a flag. Want a flag, bro? Why the light?
Oh, sorry, is this your patch? Sorry for standing your patch, I didn't really realise. They pushed me out of mine, and they're from my own church.
Oh no!
They bully me. I've got no respect for the Church of England, trust me. The leadership, trust me. None. I will call them all to account. I didn't realise I was there, so.
Yeah, I had to walk away from that guy because I know him from before, and it's just I'm pissing in the wind with that. Ask easy what flag that is.
Equatorial Guinea.
Yeah, I'm just recording. Is it okay? Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. No problem.
You live streaming or you just capturing?
No, it's just a GoPro or something like that. Just capturing it. Walked there randomly. Yeah. Looked on the internet. It's a fucking shame what happened in this place though. Now it's just full of like religious retards. Like Karl Marx and fucking Orwell used to come down here, and now it's like, oh, let's argue about religion. Fucking God isn't even real, bro. Are you religious?
Well, I think that God is real.
Oh well, sorry, mate. Yeah.
No, it's no offence. I was an atheist until the age of 47.
Oh wow,
So,
you look young, bro. For
I'm 57 now.
Oh, okay. 10 years you've been spiritual.
Yeah, spiritual. I like that.
Oh yeah.
Not religious though. I think religion is a divide and conquer game.
Well, yeah, it seems to be. All right, mate. How are you?
Let me quickly tell you.
Sorry.
Crossing your space.
What kicked my ass was DMT.
DMT, yeah. Oh yeah. What?
I did that 10 years ago. I was like, okay, it's true, there is a God.
Oh really?
But not in the way that.
You don't think it just gave you some gnarly chemical reaction in your brain?
I'm 47, man. I did a lot of good acid, lots of things, ecstasy. I've done a lot of party stuff in my youth.
Oh, okay.
And this was nothing like that.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing like that. This is like I died.
Oh, really?
For 7 minutes, I was like on the other side and getting information that blew my mind.
Yeah.
The second thing I said is every 16-year-old should see this, because if you saw this...
16-year-old? Right.
It would be like a rite of passage. You know, like the cultures used to do that. Boys would be taken away 13, 14 years old. They'd be taken into the forest, given some mushrooms and what have you.
Oh, yeah.
Now you find out who you really are.
That sounds pretty torturous, man, Just taken in against their will and force-fed mushrooms and shit,
I mean, I don't know. But you would want that. You know,
would you?
You would want that. If it was like, okay, I can show you the truth about who you are.
I mean, I don't know about that.
Don't be fearful of it.
Yeah.
It's like I'm showing you yourself.
You really think shrooms are going to show me my true self? You really believe that? It's not just going to give me some gnarly trip and, mess with the chemicals in my brain or something like that,
I might think that, but until you've done it yourself, you can't know it.
Well, I mean, I've done hallucinogenics before, but I come out on it. I've never really felt spiritual. I've always felt that there's nothing beyond physical matter. I don't think that anything beyond the, physical, like consciousness, I just think it's a chemical reaction, that's all. I don't know, I wish I could be more romantic and idealistic about, like, you know, life, but that, I don't know, realism, I guess, you know, rather
Let me
than.
put it to you like this. I was the same, having done all the shrooms and acids and stuff like that. I also didn't get like a sense of the divine.
Spiritual enlightenment,
It was only the DMT that kind of showed me that. So when I discovered it 10 years ago, I started researching what other people are saying. Either in the near-death experience or in the DMT experience. And I started to hear people saying pretty much the same stuff, and the same, gaining the same knowledge.
All right.
My dying mother, like 4 years before, couldn't get me to accept that there was a God. So I was pretty hardcore. There's no God.
Right.
2011, my mother's dying. No one is
I'm sorry about that, man. Yeah.
Part of my journey of awakening.
Right.
Losing her, that kicked my ass to go, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, well, what's funny about that, my mum's actually an atheist as well, and I wonder how much, like, our parents and family, the material environment shapes our understanding, you know? Like, I have a friend, he's an Australian Turkish man, actually. His father was a Gulenist, you know, like an extreme, you know what a Gulenist is? No. It's like a part of Islamic ideology or something like that. They're against, like, secular values, blah, blah, blah. He converted to Christianity, but he can't really grapple with, you know, he's got mates that are atheists and so on like that. It's too sort of far out for him. He doesn't really understand that. So what I'm trying to say is, like, his parents were religious in some way, shape or form, and he's religious as well. My parents were not religious. It's easy for me to accept a sort of materialist outlook or philosophy.
So my parents were quite religious. I had a lot of religious study as a child. I used to tease the preacher and say, the Bible's a flat earth book. That's so out of date. You know that we live on a solar system and all that sort of stuff now.
Okay.
So I used to tease the preachers about that.
Yeah.
But after I went to a war in Angola in 1987.
You went to a war?
Yeah, we had to do national service in South Africa.
Oh, right. Oh, you're South African, yeah? Right,
I was
okay.
born here, but raised in South Africa.
Sure.
And being raised there and seeing the threat of the communists, of the propaganda, I was willing to go and do my national service. 2 years. 3 months on the front line in combat in Angola.
Right, okay.
So what happens for me is then I see over the next few years, like the Berlin Wall comes down.
Oh, yeah.
I'm thinking, okay, humanity's on a good path now.
Right.
Then we go back to war with each other. We've got this war, we've got the Middle East, we've got the Twin Towers, we've got all of this stuff. I'm like, there's no God. There can be no God that creates such mess.
Well, I think that...
With religion, how can religion create such division?
Yeah.
Inside religion, even that man now, a minute ago, he was standing here, he's like, I used to be part of the Church of England. They've kicked me out and they've literally pushed me off my patch.
Right.
That's within the house of that Christian religion. In Islam, you have all these different arguments. And then between Islam, Christianity and Judaism, you've got all of this enmity and we're on the wrong side, you're on the wrong side, all that sort of stuff. So I'm like, there's no God. There can be no God in creating that.
I guess that there's something in the human condition that craves an existential crisis, which is why, like, for example, the afterlife, I can't really get on board with that way of thinking, because like utopia or heaven, it would make you a conformist, wouldn't it? Right? You know. And I think that you know, like with like war and chaos, I think that there's something in the human condition that craves it. That's why these people are here. There's an existential crisis that people need in order to define themselves as human, in a sense. You know.
I wouldn't disagree necessarily.
Right.
However, what I discovered in 2013 was that. So what happened for me is my mother died in 2011. In 2 years, I published a book about my war, my time in the Angolan War.
Okay.
And then I started getting other information that I've never come across before.
Right.
One of those things, one of those nuggets, which you might have looked into, is that 9/11 wasn't done by what they tell you on the TV.
Oh well, many conspiracy theories. Yeah.
Well, it's a conspiracy fact.
Well, I have no idea. I wasn't trying to rebuttal that, by the way, but
So for me, after spending months really like looking into this in 2013, 14,
right.
I was like, damn, the governments are somehow colluding. Because
I'm pretty sure, like there was something, you know, like not right there.
Then you start reaching into what is the banking system, what is the
Yeah.
What are some of these other things that are even the education system?
Yeah.
Who's authored our education system? And when you look into these organizations, you find the same fingerprints, the same families, the same names.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't suppress skepticism. I think skepticism is at the heart of critical thinking. You know, I don't have such strong opinions on like 9/11 or even the healthcare industry, but I would say that during COVID, the government tried to suppress skepticism and, in a sense, then critical thinking. You know, like the vaccine was very dogmatic, science was dogmatic. I'm skeptical of any meta-narrative, you know, so science and religion I'm skeptical of. It's a funny position, you know, postmodernism,
Actually, doctors who were skeptical and who said, I'm seeing problems with my patients, they were struck off.
Yeah.
So we know for sure that there is hidden agendas, and once you start kind of ripping the scab off of that, you realize that perhaps what if all wars are bankers' wars?
Oh, well, yeah, of course, I would say,
You know, the division of nations into you on this side, me on that side, white on this side, black on this side. All of this.
Manipulate social norms, morality, but I think with COVID, what they tried to do is they made science dogmatic and they wanted to manipulate social norms, essentially, right? But it was, trust the science, right? But also, I think it was a money-making scheme for privately owned corporations like Pfizer, for example. That's a private corporation, you know, so it's capitalism actually that I have a problem with, in a sense. You know, you can say government system, but it's free market capitalism, and that's the military-industrial complex as well, why people go to war, like you mentioned, the banking, the bankers as well. That's what I think personally, you know, like, so government do manipulate social norms in order to control morality, you know.
That's right. But what if I know that there's more of you than there are of me, and so in order to keep me in charge, I set you off against your brother.
The status quo, maintaining the status quo,
Divide and rule, divide and conquer. So I believe that a system has been curated in which there's shortage, and because there's shortage, I'm going to step over you in order to get some food for my family, or to get a nice new car.
It's all about power dynamics, I think, you know.
And they use that in Pfizer. Why? Doctors were being paid a lot of money to issue more needles, right? They were getting so that's the grease in the machine. Yes, some people need to get paid off, but the same people, the same fingerprints that we see in banking and all these other things, they're basically the ones who print the money. They don't really need more billions. It's not going to make it. They've got more money than they can spend in a lifetime. So it's not so much that. I think that money is a tool that is useful, but also can be used as a weapon. Because if I'm the only one in town that has the money, then I can pay girls, I can give them $50 and they'll do whatever I ask them to do.
For only $50, maybe you might have to pay a bit more,
Depends on how poor they are. You go to South Africa where I'm from. If you offer a girl $50, there's nothing she wouldn't, not every girl obviously, but they would go in, they would do whatever
they would do
for $50.
Right, okay, it's pretty sad.
In South Africa, people were offered a KFC to take a needle in the arm.
Oh, really?
A KFC.
That was the incentive, and that was what, government backed, was it? Right.
You could get a KFC. In this country, in America, you could get a free donut from Dunkin' Donuts or whatever. If you showed them that you'd had a needle. So people were selling their health off. For a chicken, for a piece of chicken.
Incentives, basically, You know? Economic incentives to sort of take the vaccine. I never took the vaccine. I was going to take the vaccine, then I came down with COVID, and I just thought, fuck it, what's the point now? You know, I've already caught it. I think it was like a morality thing, you know, like they were trying to say,
The man with the mask.
Sorry?
There's a man with a mask on.
Oh, wow, okay, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, you still see that.
Where is he? Where is he?
Right here, this man here.
Man with a mask?
He's got one of the blue face masks on. Yeah, he's right here.
Oh, right, okay. What is he? Oh, yeah, I'll go check. Oh, right. Oh, sorry, man, I thought you were talking right, I was like, whoa, yeah, all right,
the suffocation device.
I understand, no. Well, whatever,
the slave device. Well, I'm not thinking for myself. Evidence.
Yeah, I had issues with that as well. Like, I struggled to accept that was the new normal, you know, wearing one of those fucking face coverings. It did feel a bit, you know, like the West, we have this social contract made up of like civil liberties, liberalism, but it was all bullshit, and it all just fell apart within a matter of months and weeks. You
And
know.
Australia was one of the worst, and South Africa was
Yeah,
bad.
my mate said that. Yeah, Australia
France was pretty intense
yeah,
as well.
I was in Spain during the time, you know,
Also
like
pretty intense,
yeah,
right?
like we had a massive 3-month lockdown, and then I fucked off to Turkey and lived in Turkey for a little while, and their government is weird because they live under a sort of authoritarian regime, but he didn't really give a shit about COVID. They had a lockdown, but it was like he was forced into giving them a lockdown.
Right.
And then, like, you know, they didn't really care about it. You know what I mean? It was like, it was funny. In the West, we would say, oh, Erdogan in Turkey's an autocrat, a dictator. But actually, when it comes to immigration and when it comes to COVID, he was far more liberal than the West. You know, I'm not saying that I'd vote for someone like that or I support someone like that, but it's comparative, it's relative, is what I'm saying. You
Politics is all
Power
mind
dynamics.
control.
Yeah,
Governmental.
yeah.
Yeah. Mente is mind. In Latin. So control your mind, and they showed how far along they have come in 2020, because 90% of people just lined up and said, yeah, I'll do what you
Well,
say.
yeah, it was a manipulation of social norms. That was what it was. If you took the vaccine, you were a good person and you trusted science and you were a logical, rational person. But if you showed any skepticism, you were completely suppressed. And that's the thing, skepticism is at the heart of critical thinking, right? Like, so I'm skeptical of religion and science, you know, so...
Be skeptical of the globe. You know, the globe is something that you have to... The same people who told you to take the vaccine are the people who tell you to live on the globe.
Well, you know, I got a friend who's a flat earther. I'm not, like, but I'm a moral relativist, so I don't, like, there's no objective way of proving that there is an objective reality, right? Like, this could all be a fucking simulation. Morpheus might unplug you from the Matrix, you don't know, right? So I've never been up there, I don't know.
That
like,
I agree with. But
Yeah.
what I find in physics is that everything layers itself in strata.
Okay.
Gases, liquids, as I've got on this here, different liquids.
You haven't even got shoes on, bro.
Yeah, man, earthing. They're electromagnetic.
Right, okay, yeah, sure.
I try and go with it as much as I can.
Oh, Earth is not a globe. Right, that's what it is then. Ah, yeah, my mate is going to love you.
Ask him about food post-pension.
I've been waiting for you two to talk about that. That's your thing, isn't it?
Yeah, my chat room will be done. How the hell not?
Not recently.
So have you had any new, I don't know, discoveries or proofs about your theory?
Guys continue
Seems
to
like
do
the last
like
couple of years. I saw you a couple of years ago.
Yeah, guys continue to do laser experiments, observations. We've had some observations crop up, like one recently, where a guy went up to the highest peak in Wales, and on a very clear day, he took a photograph that you can point to 7 peaks in the Alps, 700 kilometers away, 800 kilometers away. So we've seen things far too far. There's many more pictures coming up from hundreds of miles, of photos from hundreds of miles of things that should not be visible on the globe. But you know, the anti-globe, the anti-flat Earth movement is, you know, getting stronger. Many more people are wanting to join that kind of fight to defend their ball. So it's getting traction, you know, because more people talk about it, the more we'll go, okay, but have we actually measured this water? You know, we say it's curving, but have we measured this curve? Like I say here,
Can I get
experimentation and testing of theories.
Brother, he
Yeah.
says you won't talk to him, yeah? He's got a big...
No, well, I've spoken to this gentleman a few times.
Yeah?
And I've already explained that the Foucault's pendulum is not satisfactory. But I'm not
Right.
going to talk about things that are nuanced. I'm here to talk about...
I told you what's
No, I'm just wanting to hear his argument.
opinion, yeah?
So what my
I told you
my argument is...
Okay, yeah.
is well, you see, I have a counter to the Foucault's pendulum, which he doesn't want to hear.
Okay, yeah.
I'll show
This
it
is all new to me, mate. I have no idea, yeah.
You know what Foucault's pendulum is?
No, he was explaining it to me, so I'm
So
vaguely
it's a
familiar,
pendulum,
but...
and they have a number of them in different places, museums,
Okay.
and science museums. And what they do is they have a gimbal holding a long cable with a weight on the bottom of it.
Okay.
And they set it into motion once a day, and this thing will do like this slow arcing backwards and forwards, but make a slow turn. It will do this, right?
Uh-huh.
So I say, is it possible I could design something that would work like that? Because if this were true, that it's the evidence that the Earth is spinning, then a crane should be able to lower, at the weekend, he should be able to lower his cable down with a 50 kilogram, 100 kilogram weight sitting at the bottom,
Yeah.
and then the Earth's movement should eventually start to make that swing like the Foucault's pendulum, if we
Okay.
were on a flat Earth, if we were on a spinning globe. But what I've come today is to show you people that actually everything is always level when it's when this is. See this here. This is what we observe in reality.
Okay.
The pseudoscience is that the idea that we can get water to sit on the side of a ball. We can't do that.
Okay, well, let me just ask you, if we were in California, right, and you wanted to sail from California to Japan, and then you wanted to travel from Japan to mainland China, or Korea, whatever, and then go through, you know, Russia or Central Asia, and then get to Western Asia, you go across the bridge in Istanbul back to Europe, and then you're in Europe, and then you sail across the Atlantic and go back to the US, what would you do?
That works on the flat Earth. We've looked at all.
How would that work then? Yeah.
Well, in the same way as I could say I could sail around England, I could sail around the United Kingdom. It doesn't mean I've gone around the ball.
Well, yeah, but I mean, okay, so that's to go east to west, but what if you wanted to go?
Well, guess what? We've never done that.
Yeah.
We've never gone underneath the globe and come out the other side. I bet your friend has told you that. There's an Antarctic treaty that.
Not really. I mean, I don't.
You've got a friend that flies aeroplanes for Qantas.
I haven't got. You've got a friend,
no,
yeah?
No, I haven't. But you have got a friend.
I've got a friend who flied for Qantas and he wouldn't take the needle, so he had to walk out of his job.
Oh, okay.
He wouldn't take the needle. But he's been a flat earther for 10 years.
Yeah.
So there's Qantas.
Right.
It's a reputable airline, one of the safest airlines on earth.
Okay.
Give us a thumbs up.
And they sacked him because it's a flat earth. So what does that tell you?
Right. Well, he's saying that they sacked him because he wouldn't take the vaccine, the COVID vaccine. So.
Well, that's right, yes.
Yeah.
Because if you were on the news about a couple of years ago, they were in a COVID war.
Hi, how are you doing?
We're good, thank you. We remember you from a long time ago. You recommended us the water distiller ages ago. Yeah, we're using it since then. Yeah,
well done.
It changed our life. Right? Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. You made my day.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, because even now, if you drink water from any bottle anywhere else, it's not the same. Yeah, my mom is like, no, I don't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the same.
Yeah.
And my distiller broke a while ago, and I was like, oh, I've got to get it quick, as soon as we can, you know, get back into the clean water. Fantastic. Well, I'm so happy for you. You're welcome. Do you have my YouTube?
I believe so.
I don't know if I lost my YouTube account. I can't remember how many years ago I saw you, but
It's been maybe 3 years.
oh, okay.
Maybe even more.
I did lose they took my YouTube account away, so I had to start a new one.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you don't.
Do you want to keep it or take picture of it? Yeah, thank you. Nice.
And this one is my friend. He has an app now. There's an app. An app. You know, like a.
Oh, app. Sorry.
Yeah, like on your phone.
I'm dehydrated.
Yeah. Always carry the water if you can.
Yeah.
I'm going with copper at the moment.
I have the same.
You have the same.
Yeah. Really good.
It's easier than the flask. It's not as heavy.
Yeah. This is kind of. That's why I have to drink.
Yes.
We're trying our best to keep well.
Cool. Well, good for you. Anyway, this friend of mine, he started an app. It's $3 for £3, and it's got the best, a lot of really good content on that. So check that out if you want.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm so pleased you stopped, and I'm so pleased.
No worries, because usually when we walk by, we try to see if you're here.
Oh, wow.
Sometimes we don't stay for too long, because sometimes it's too much here.
Are those your shoes down there?
Yes, well. When you walk on the streets, you need shoes, right?
Yeah,
the glass and whatnot. But anyway, so I have been traveling for all this time,
That's why you tan.
but not in. I've been in England this last year, but because we haven't had a home for 6 years now. When I saw you, I was already without a home.
Oh.
So we've been traveling around, and today I'm out near Oxford.
Okay.
But I felt I wanted to come into London today.
Yeah.
So I'm so glad.
Yeah.
I see you. I've got a new banner. It's my first time as a new banner today.
Yeah. You definitely make impact on people. A good impact. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Go
you.
well.
Thank you.
All the
We
best.
will walk around. We will stop by. Nice to see you. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. So, Do you know what a gyroscope is?
Telescope.
Gyroscope.
Gyroscope, yes, sir. Yes. Those ladies, I met them 3 years ago, and I told them they should start distilling their drinking water. And they came back. They've been coming back here on Sundays to see if they can find me and tell me they've been distilling their drinking water. But I know what a gyroscope is. Yes, it's for like a artificial horizon.
Yes. So why don't you try to get one and do a flight from here to New York or somewhere? In theory, the gyroscope would maintain the same horizon.
The horizon from the starting point, yeah? But if I flew around the curve, the gyroscope would maintain my original horizontal, yes? Now the plane would be going this way, but it would say your horizon is this way, yes? So there's lots of pilots who tell us that the gyroscope must remain 1 degree up, the nose must be 1 or 2 degrees up during flight. Yes, and we use the original runway flat as our baseline for spinning the gyro up. And once you're in the air, the gyro is going to tell you that you're either above that or below that. You are never going to go around the curve. There's lots of pilots who confirm Earth is not curving, and the gyroscope does not make any allowance for going around the ball.
You maintain that the gyroscope will maintain the same horizon.
Correct.
All of the travel from here to India, for instance.
Yeah, so that's because it's flat.
Okay.
But if it was a ball, then there would be a machine, a device, something that would say, okay, you've changed your angle now by 4 degrees, or you fly to South Africa, 90 degrees, right? According to the England to Johannesburg, 90 degrees almost of angular change from this being your horizontal to now this being your horizontal. But there's no machine that can determine that. There's no machine that can measure that. The pilot cannot have his artificial horizon realigning itself based on a new parallel or a new horizontal. It doesn't work like
my
that.
point is, why don't you buy a gyroscope and say, okay,
I did that, but I did it with a spirit level. I took a digital spirit level.
No. Spirit level is not the same.
But it's a plane. So if the plane is keeping its nose up like this at 1.5 degrees for 5 hours, how is it going over the ball?
But the spirit level is not.
We would end up away from the ball because the ball is bending down all the time around you. Yeah, you would have to dip the nose down by
spirit level is
half a mile.
What is the spirit level?
It's what they use for building.
To measure
to make a building flat.
Yeah, but that's not my point.
No, I know your point. But obviously every plane that flies with a gyroscope.
I know,
yes?
but
and so the gyroscope is saying, so it's only going to show me the same thing that the pilot will tell me, is that the gyroscope says I am level, 1 degree up from level, for 5 hours, 10 hours. That's it.
Okay, so that would be the perfect proof. If you buy a gyroscope and you do a YouTube video and you travel the other way of the planet and film the gyroscope maintaining the same level, you have the perfect proof.
We have that. There is videos on YouTube of this. You've got pilots filming their gyroscope. Look, I'm still level, I'm 6 hours into the flight, I'm still level. When is the gyroscope going to show you that where you started, you're no longer at that angle?
Okay, can you send me one?
Check out this app.
No, there's a video. Where can I find this video?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be a perfect proof for you. But I want the video.
Yeah, this one is full of videos. He's got all the best videos to show you pilots talking about it, fighter pilots talking about it, airline pilots talking about it.
So do you have a gyroscope?
I don't have a gyroscope. Have you ever shown water to be curving? If you can't measure water curving over its surface, start with the basics. Water does not curve. The water is flat and level when it's at rest. Yes, you contain water, you let it rest, flat and level.
But that's not proving the point.
Oh, sorry. You can take this. You can have this.
Right, fine. Because I will lose it. Okay, thank you.
All right, all the best. Hey, how you doing?
I'm alright, my friends, I'm alright.
Good. You got any questions on this?
Go on, explain to me.
Sorry, brother.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Can I listen?
Please do, yeah.
This is a place to listen and you can listen to anyone.
Listening and learning, hopefully.
So, based on religion or science, this is based on religion. Your teaching is based on religion or science.
Yes, and biblical science as well. Bible says the earth is flat, not moving, and it has a roof. It has an enclosure.
The Bible said that.
Absolutely.
Which verse?
Well, I don't have all the verses to the top of my mind. I'm not a Christian.
You are not a Christian. Good.
But when I was a child, I read the Bible a lot, and I said to my preacher, "The Bible is flat earth. The Bible is set. The Bible says earth is set upon pillars and not moving. But waters."
The Bible said that. The Bible said that.
Says the earth is set on pillars and not moving. The Bible also says that the sun comes on day 4, but the mainstream science says that the sun comes first before the earth. The Bible says that God created us. Science says we came from monkeys. That's what science will tell you. Now, what I can prove to you is that water is always going to seek and find level when at rest. So this is 5 feet level, 30,000 feet level, 120,000 feet level. Neil deGrasse Tyson, a well-known astrophysicist, says that even at the Red Bull jump, 200,000 feet, it's level. You can't see curvature because we're too small. Well, what if? Because there is no curvature.
Why are you not wearing shoes?
Because it's good for you.
Okay,
For the earth is giving you energy. In Africa, where I grew up, we always often no shoes.
And even for massaging also.
Massaging. But not only that, because you are an electrical system inside an electrical system. You see, we see that the earth is electromagnetic. And the earth is giving off power.
Yeah, the Greece were the ones who explained this thing properly. Space magnetics and the earth macrocoism and microcoism. That's the Greece explained all this.
Balance as well.
Yes, and magma is is magnetic. So that's the magnet, and the L is the masculine.
And even the magma can also mean mass. It can also mean mass. That's why Einstein came up with the EM c². And here, gravity. Do you know it doesn't exist?
No.
Gravity does not exist.
No, I'm with you.
Yeah, it's a theory.
Yes, gravity is a theory, and all we see is that if I drop something, it's going to fall because the air is too thin to hold it. But if I drop something in a swimming pool, maybe it's not going to fall.
Because the gravity is the force of the mass is less.
And the displacement is too small. Which is why a steel boat will float on water, but a block of steel will fall through the water. Because I've displaced more water than the boat is weighing. It's simple stuff.
You see, they lie to the world. You see, all what they are teaching us in universities, Oxford, Cambridge, and all this, they lie to the world.
They want to hide God from you. They want to hide that you are the reason why this place exists. We are the center of creation.
So what does it mean?
It means that all the governments in the world are working.
Yes. Now it's a good plan to fool the world. It's good.
And to keep us all in the slave mind.
No, it's not easy. They will teach you what they want you to know, not what you want to know. That's their agenda, and it's good to rule.
And if knowledge is power, and I hold the knowledge, then I hold the power.
That's it. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power, and knowledge controls. So it's good to have knowledge, not based on the Bible. The Bible is I can say it's a rubbish book. They lie. What is in the Bible? Most of them are lie. I'm telling you.
I like that there's some parts of the Bible that can teach me how to be a good man, but there are parts of the Bible that I know people say no.
Which is very bad.
And the problem is that if I choose the Bible and you don't choose the Bible, then we are no longer brothers. You see, so I'm
a humanist. I'm a humanist. So humanism is the best. Brotherhood. Humanism is the best. It's not based on religion or anything. Humanism is the best because see your eye is here, my eye is here, see your ear, the same thing. So we are humanists, not religion. Religion came to divide and ruin the world. Religion came to divide them. That's why I don't like to involve myself in religion. It's shit.
I'm with you.
Religion is shit. It came to divide and ruin the world.
Yeah,
Yes.
divide and conquer. And this camp and that camp, and then they're all
That is-
inside a religion, they fight with each other.
That's it.
But we are all one.
Humanity, one. If they cut you now, blood will
Same
come.
blood, brother.
That's it.
Same
So
blood.
why are we fighting?
Yes.
Why?
Because there's the people who run the world, whether it be Satan or just
No,
rich
Satan.
people,
They are clever people.
Yeah.
They are clever.
Yeah.
But I like them. They are clever because they have to fool you and rule you. They have to brainwash you and take what is your hand and go.
Maybe it's like a test. Maybe this is a test to see.
Are you recording?
Yes. Sorry, I'm live on
No.
YouTube.
My picture is there.
Yeah, you can-
Oh no!
Yes.
No, raging is shit. I hate raging.
Yeah, you don't care.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
It's
It's
all
bullshit.
good, yeah.
Because gravity, if you study physics, gravity does not exist. If you physics is not science. No, I don't want to be recorded. Physics, as you see, is not even science. Physics is not science.
Well,
Physics is not science. The word physics is from the Greeks, physio. And the word physio is from the ancient Egyptian. So physics is not science. Einstein, Isaac Newton, they are not physicists, but they are prophets.
Yes.
High priests. They are prophets and high priests. Yes. That's why they know the secret behind all this.
And they've got to come up with clever ideas to trick the people.
That's it. If you study Einstein, EMC2, energy is equal to mass and this, it's not true. He lied. He's clever. There's no way he will reveal the secret of his forefathers. No way. He will never. Look, the way you make your money, there's no way you come out and reveal it in public. No, you do that. The source of your power, your knowledge, there's no way you will come out and show it in public. You can't do that. That's what they are doing. They will come and tell you, if it's like this, they'll show you this. And you follow.
Yes. What is white is black.
That's it. That's why the world is being controlled. And I like it. It's nice.
Go well. Thanks, brother. I'll try. How you doing?
They treat you like dogs.
How you guys doing? Good to be here. My banner is getting a little bit how you doing? Good. I met you before.
I tried to find your YouTube channel because I didn't realise you were streaming. I couldn't. Is this the right channel? Yeah. Oh, sorry, bro.
I don't like to show you my channel that easily.
This is it, yeah? That's you, is it? Okay, bro.
Hard work for one more sub. Wonder if I could realign myself. What do you guys say? Someone else has been here. As you can see, it's like you could think you were in a Muslim country, right? I said that before. The change is happening. And my banner is a little bit lost there. You know? It's beautiful banner. Beautiful banner. Can I give you one?
I've read it before.
This is the first time I've ever brought it to town.
I read similar thing.
Okay.
I read this one.
I might use this. This lady is quite a fiery powerhouse. She certainly takes it to the Muslims. She has no fear this woman. Courage. Based in fervent belief.
Islam is not a religion. Islam is a cult of the devil.
I know where it is.
I was thinking of moving my banner actually, to be honest.
Lots of big spenders.
I'm not getting a lot of traction there.
That's all it is. Because Jesus Christ is Almighty, Creator and Savior of the whole world. You can do whatever you want. You can be religious. What's your name? But I'm telling you seriously, unless you have
What are you guys doing wherever you are in the world today? And then I realign myself, move somewhere else. I need more eyes on my banner, bro. People don't realize how bad they've been tricked. If they can lie about the globe, what else can they lie about? And why? Because they don't want us to know that we are the reason. We are the creation, bro. Thanks for your support, and anyone who's got a spare coffee in the tank, that would be nice. Sorry, brother, I just want to untie my thing here. I'm gonna realign it. How cool that those ladies came to see me. Wow, that's amazing. I kind of remember them actually. That's a special moment, sure thing. Like that lad was asking me earlier, why do I do it? Well, there's a great reason right there. Thank you so much. Sorry about the shaking. Let's realign this.
My dear friends, Islam is not a religion, it's a cult of the devil. Allah, who is Shaitan, will disguise as God. The devil wants to go against Jesus Christ. And Islam is the antichrist. Islam is the will be granted to Islam. My dear friends, the devil is trying 3 minutes of holiday.
Sorry.
Oh yeah, it came out 13th century.
Oh, hi again. I'm resetting myself. Hang fire, guys. Hang fire, hang fire. Oh, that's really made my day. Sorry about that. I'm with the wind behind me right now, so tactical decision. But I'm hoping that I'll get a little bit more kind of footfall and hopefully less of the nutcases. Got the light behind it, but that's okay. Let's go along with the narrative. Hey guys, you know the Earth is flat? It's not a spinning ball in space. They lie to us about that. Evolution's a lie. Globe is a lie.
Sorry.
Okay.
Earth is not a globe. Don't believe the mumbo jumbo monkey science. So I'm out of the melee there, which I mean the noise is hopefully not made it impossible to hear the conversations, but we heard a few. I'm made up that those ladies went to the distiller, man. That's just so cool. Give out some flyers.
Jesus is Lord! Almighty God is Lord! Jesus is
Earth is flat.
Bro, where's your shoes at?
If that's about...
Where's my shoes at? Oh, that's funny, man. That is funny. Where's my shoes at? See what they do there is look for anything that they can kind of I don't hear that. I don't know part of life. Live Nature's Michael Smith is yes, I need to watch this video.
وانا اجيب لك واحده
Earth is not a globe. Did you know that? Earth is not a globe. Earth is not a globe. I want to put some chalk down red clods here. Will have a word with me if I do that. I'll let me to get a fracas. I'll go, Earth is not a globe. Earth not a globe. Hello, mate. I mean, I'm making the point today that really, when we observe water, we always find it rests its level. So I've put a few things on here on my banner to demonstrate that.
Full disclosure, I'm not going to agree with you.
Okay, good.
But
I don't need you to agree.
I don't need you to agree with me either.
Yeah.
These images.
Yes.
Let's both agree those look flat.
Yeah.
We look at them; those look flat.
Yeah.
My question is, what do you expect? Assuming. Let's assume. Let's assume. Let's assume it's a globe, and let's assume that it's as big as we think it is.
Yeah.
What should that look like?
Well, let me just dial back a second and let me tell you that lots of people tell me that they know the Earth is curving because A, they've been on a beach and seen a ship go over the curve.
Okay.
B,
we've all
they've
seen
been in
that.
an airplane and seen the curvature from an
That's
airplane.
bullshit.
And C, NASA have been up to space, and so therefore we've seen the globe from space.
Okay, so we can let's leave that.
So
one.
let's if
let's talk about ones we can.
If the Earth is a globe, it has to have, because it's a sphere. No matter the size of the sphere, it has to have an amount of curvature.
Agreed.
And there's a formula according to the globe science that says that if there is the curvature should be 8 inches per mile squared.
Yeah.
So when we plot that, we find that 10 miles is about 800 inches.
Okay.
And so what we should be able to observe from 10 miles, or in this case, I would say 100 miles, and in this possibly a few hundred miles across, we should actually be able to see some curvature. But Neil deGrasse Tyson is on record saying
So what did you say? What should we see in this one?
Well, this should have miles and miles of curvature, really, because we're talking about a few hundred miles. And this one, are you from North America, it sounds like?
Yeah.
So this one here, this is the North America. If you go into Google and say, show me the North America cut through, where it'll give you this, East Coast to West Coast, and it'll give you all of the heights above sea level.
Right.
Give you all the heights above sea level.
Right.
And so we're recognizing, as does the USGS, is that the sea level on the East Coast and the West Coast is pretty much the same. There's a few inches, 9 inches apparently a difference. But otherwise there's one plane, a mean sea level, upon which all topography is based. So any height of an American mountain or European
I don't know
mountain,
what they define as sea level. I would imagine it would be some distance. Scientifically, it should be some distance from the center of the Earth, I would think. I don't know how.
Yeah. No. I kind of get that.
I always wonder that myself.
Yeah, I understand that. But when we go, okay, hold on. You mean I should be able to measure, even if it's with a micrometer, I should be able to measure curvature over an Olympic swimming pool. It should be in a few millimeters of curvature. But we know that it's absolutely level when at rest.
I'm not sure we can measure it to that degree in a swimming pool.
Well, you know what? When they make mirrors, particularly for like telescopes, large telescopes and so on, they float them on a bed of oil to create them, because that bed of oil will be perfectly level. And so it will give you the perfectly level, flat mirror. And the same is true with a lake. You know, a lake on a still day is a perfect reflector for the scenery beyond it.
What is mainstream science? Forget about whether they're right or not. What does mainstream science say about the amount of curvature on a given lake? Would they agree that they're perfectly flat? Or would they say there's a little tiny bit? Or would they say it's difficult, there's not enough for us to be able to measure because the water's moving? Or what would they say?
Well, remember, if we can stand on the beach and see at 3 or 4 miles a ship that's 30 meters tall disappear over the curvature, it infers that there's 30 meters of curvature between me and that ship.
It implies there's some curvature there.
Yeah. So it has to be. I mean, they say it's 8 inches per mile squared. It's not me. It's not
we know that. We know that's an approximation. But
yeah,
that's
and
fine.
because of course
it's close enough for It's close enough.
Yeah, but you've got areas in America that are known to be super flat. You know, you got states like Kansas. You know, it's said to be as flat as a pancake. And
so what do you think they mean when they say flat? Do they mean like a plane, or do they mean
flat?
And this is where I was bringing in the sea level thing, because we have to decide what we're saying. For me, if they say flat, if it were let's say perfectly flat, just to make it obvious, easy, I would say that would mean that every place is the same distance from the center of the Earth. That would be flat to me.
Right.
Even if that meant it was, let's exaggerate it and say it was going like that.
What about horizontal? Would that be the same as flat?
Horizontal would not be the same as flat, I don't think. I mean, these are definitely, these are all definitional, but I would say that doesn't imply, horizontal is a mathematical and geometric term.
It's a geometrical term, and it's based on that. When we measure the horizon, we find it to be perfectly level and flat, as we see in those images there.
I don't think we find it perfect. This is what I was going to say. I don't think. I agree that looks flat. That looks flat to me.
And the Suez Canal is engineered flat, and that's 120.
Imagine I had let me see if you, let's go for a little ride here and see if you agree with me. You've probably heard something like this before. Imagine I had a basketball, which is quite clearly has the type of curvature that you've described.
All balls have exactly the same ratio of curvature, actually, no matter the size.
Imagine I zoom in with a camera at the top of that basketball. Zoom in really, 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 really close. So that, say, a millimeter is like this big. What do you think that's going to look like?
I'm zooming in from the top down.
I'm just going to zoom in at the top edge of the basketball.
I would suggest that it would be extremely difficult at that scale to find curvature, which is why we're.
It would look flat, right?
Yeah. It's why. Well, it would look flat, but
I mean, you can do this on your computer. Take a circle, zoom in on it, and then it flattens.
And that's
and
why
it's not flat. It has exactly the type of curvature that we've described that all balls have, but it looks flat.
Okay. So that's why we're taught when we're in school, like the ship at 3 or 4 miles is going over the curve. You can't see beyond that, so you have to just accept that. But now with powerful cameras, I'm live streaming. Right. So that's why I don't hold the phone in my hand like this with the mic on it for fun. But let me just offer it to you like this. What killed it for me was long-range observations. Because if you apply this 8 inches per mile squared, and then you consider like that the world record.
Do you have an example of one here?
Yeah. Well, this one you can look up yourself. It's the Guinness World Record.
Is this the mountain one in France?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's not contested. That's an accepted photograph.
I agree with you.
Over 300 miles or something, 400 kilometers, and we should not be able to see that. Now, an American chap by the name of Jay Tolan, media, he took right into cameras and stuff. So he took an infrared camera in an aeroplane, and he filmed from California down to Baja, Mexico, in a single photograph. We have photographs of mountains like Rainier and others from altitude where they all look like pimples on a flat surface. So where we should see things, or rather where things should be obscured by this alleged curvature. Now I'm seeing beyond my own human eyesight. I'm using powerful cameras, for example, and I'm seeing things at 30 miles. The famous one in the flat earth community is Chicago over Michigan, 50 miles, 50, 60 miles. And we're seeing all of that, and we're told that that's simply a mirage and what have you. But I can assure you that what got me into flat earth research was that this 8 inches per mile squared, because I grew up by the sea. I was like, hold on, I've seen things at night, street lights, 30, 40 miles up or kilometers up the coast. Impossible if it's on.
Let's take that Chicago one, because I'm familiar with it. So let's agree that someone took a photo that you shouldn't be able to see.
Lots of people have done it since then, so it's been repeated. This is good science, right?
Well,
to make the observation more than once.
This is where I'm going to get to.
Okay.
Is the good science bit?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, point number one is the good science is, does it look like that every day?
But we know we've got obscuration or occulting from the atmosphere. We know on a misty day,
the reason.
You can't see a mile, right?
Do we see it every day?
No.
Let's assume it's not. We don't see it because it's foggy.
Can we accept?
Something.
Yeah,
it's a clear day. Do we see it every? Do we see it every
on
clear
a clear day? Yes.
You see it every clear day.
Yes.
Do you?
Yes. Not me. I don't live there, but people who live there say on a clear day we see it. On a less clear day we don't see it. But that we require in order to make long-range photography like the Guinness World Record, he needed a super clear day. If there'd been a rainstorm halfway between him and the mountain, he would not have seen it. He would have obscured that. But science, like I said here, this is from Oxford Languages. Science is observation, experiment, and testing of the theory. Now, if the theory is that the water is curving, when did we in school test that? Now, an observation of a ship is not a test. That's an observation. But now, if you say that 20 or 30 meter tall ship has gone over the curvature, throw me a laser from one point to another, so that shows me. And so guys have been doing this. They've gone across various lakes in America, in Europe, at distances of 30, 40 miles, and they can see the laser fired from a secondary point. In both directions, they can be seen. Another guy in America took on an icy winter's day over a lake over 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, and 8 miles. He put different color lights all at about 1 foot height above the ice. And he took a camera from 1 foot above the ice, and you can see all of those. Now, we know that ice is perfectly flat when frozen, pretty much. That's why they ice skate on it. They have a big lake in Russia, 300 miles long of frozen ice. It's known as this flat body. So no, we know that water when at rest is at level. We're told that we can't see it curving in the distance. Just trust me because of the ship. Well, we're saying no, the ship is not good enough evidence.
I don't think that's fair. I mean, I think that the ship provides a pretty reasonable hypothesis, which you still need to test further.
Which we've debunked. You know that Nikon have a camera called the P900.
Yeah, no.
About 10 years ago, that came out, and all of a sudden we could go down to the beach, watch the ship go away, pull out the 900. For another 20 minutes, maybe more, until it's eventually outside of the range of view of that
Well, I mean, the thing is, let me get to one thing I wanted to hit before we go to that. The Chicago picture. What would the mainstream science say is the explanation for why you can take that picture?
Superior mirage.
Based on
because they can't have their religion attacked. In fact, that same footage, that same thing, was put on a local news station weather report. It's famous for being that. And the guy says, "This is a mirage. What you're seeing here is a mirage." And yet, locals will tell you that on a clear day. In fact, people have come to me from Namibia and said, on a clear day, we can see 100 kilometers. We can see things over the desert 100 kilometers away.
So let's unpack that. So they say based on atmospheric conditions that sometimes the light bends around the curve.
Yes.
Do you think that's reasonable? That doesn't happen.
No, I don't think so. Not in the way that it would be a perfect bottom to, we can take a photo. A guy sent me a photo the other day, actually, of the White Cliffs of Dover from France.
Right.
Now, they're famous white cliffs. They're 300 feet tall, and you can see from the beach to the top of them at least 250 feet, according to the 8 inches per mile squared formula, should be obscured by water. But you can see, and if you had a powerful enough camera, you'd be able to see people walking and playing on the beach. That's impossible in a mirage situation. Now, I know what a superior mirage is, where you can look out and see a ship seeming to float.
I haven't seen the one about playing on the beach.
You can see like a ship seems to float, but actually it's actually back there, further in the water. But things seem to rise and rise and rise as you go back away from you when you're looking at powerful. And of course, when I was first looking at this in 2016, I flew over the Mediterranean, and I'm looking at ships 100 miles away, and they look like they're on a mirror. They're on a flat lake. But people are telling me on the beach they've seen it go over the curve. But from up here, it all looks flat.
But it would do, right?
Well, that's what Neil deGrasse Tyson says. He said the
if
red bull jump wasn't
If we're
high.
down here, it'll look over the curve. If we're up here, we can see a bit past it.
Yeah, if it was a curve, if it was a ball, as you say, then there should be a changing of perpendicular as things get away from you, yeah? Because perpendicular here
they
for
should,
us
they
is
should
here.
go like that.
In
yeah.
America, perpendicular is here. In South Africa, perpendicular is sort of that way.
But they would do.
Right? So I should be able to observe that in, say...
It's too small to see. This is
Again, we get back to the... we can't measure it. But to see science must be... So
hold on,
the theory cannot be
that,
tested.
Do you think that might be valid? I mean, we talked about that, that basketball example. It's just, the Earth is... I mean, I guess one thing we'd have to agree on is that the Earth is as big as they say it is. Do you think it's as big as they say it is?
I think it
kind of has
may
to
be, but remember, even the cartographers admit that Greenland that you see on the map is oversized.
Right.
Russia is oversized.
Exactly.
Canada, some parts of Canada have been oversized, and we can't really go and test that for ourselves.
This is part of the thing is we can't put these things on a flat map because it's not flat.
Well, the United Nations logo is a flat map.
I know, but that's a logo.
USGS uses the same flat map. In fact, the 1945 air flight map.
Hold on, let's go to these one by one.
Like
do you think the United Nations thinks the world is flat?
Yes, I know.
You do?
Yeah. Well, because remember, for us, in the space program is a hoax. It is an extension of Disney, and so very few countries.
Hold on, let's put that one to the side because it doesn't matter.
But no, because the people who
I could agree with you that it's a hoax. And I could still argue that the world is a globe.
Okay.
Mostly because anyone who's been doing any type of scientific observation for the last couple of thousand years has, not all of them, but most of them, have come to the theory that it's a globe. So this has nothing to do with NASA or space.
Did you say thousands of years?
Yeah, back to the Greeks.
No. Do you know when the first globe is made? This is according to the internet.
Let's forget about making a globe. People assumed that the world was spherical.
I saw an interview with a lady who was 102 years old. This interview was just 5 years ago, and she said in American school, they taught me that Earth is flat. So it's not a thousand. And in fact, the oldest globe, which is held by the Vatican, the same people who run the world, it's 500 years old, the first globe. And that's what they say, and I don't even know